Right, guys, so you might have noticed in the title, I've got world building today. Because we're going to talk about some things. There might be a few little changes for the better, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that today. But we did kind of start with it last stream. Things have changed a little bit since then, which we'll talk about in a bit. But as for the game itself, well, let's have a quick little glance at our Trello page. There we go. Let's get that there. I've changed some stuff about. I've actually extended a few of the things into August now, just because, you know, there's a lot to do. But for the rest of this month, the rest of May, we've got a few days left. We've got 2 streams left in May. Skill tree stuff, and we might have if we get time, we'll have a peek at that today. But maybe more on Friday, we'll look at that. But I'm kind of working on that off stream because there's a few very sort of confusing maths parts that that are a little bit boring to do on stream, I have to say. So I'm going to do that behind the scenes. And but I do want to have a peek at our skill trees because I think it's super cool, and it's going to be exciting to get it all properly implemented. Anyway, oh my goodness, Slobs has been silly, guys. It didn't tell me you all chatted. Now I've got to catch up. It like stopped, and now I've realised there's loads of chat. Let's have a look. Okay, Rose, there's a wave of bots roaming Twitch today. Not sure if you read that part of my DM, but tons of them flooding chats. Moon, right, I didn't get a chance to read it just because I was going live at the second I saw it, but I will. Thank you for letting me know. That's very kind of you to let me know that. And if they do flood the chats, we'll certainly deal with it if that happens. And hopefully it doesn't come to that though. Working but fun work. I'm glad that it's fun work. Fun work is what matters most. We travelled all week, went on another hike. Ooh, sounds exciting. Got some exercise. I need to do that. I need to exercise. Doing great to see you again. Yay. Rose, did you see the Wholesome Games Direct on YouTube yesterday? Great showcase of upcoming games. I didn't, Azriel. Feel free to pop the link in the Discord if there is one though, because that does sound super cool. I'm very intrigued, Azriel. Skill Tree Park, I know, because that's what our progression system is going to be in Raindrop Chronicles. So it's going to be like, it's very similar to the Sphere Grid Final Fantasy X. It was always my favourite, so that's kind of why we're going that way with this. It's a little bit different, but it's similar as well. And how is everyone doing? Hi Van, how are you doing? It's good to see you today. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing good, Aggro. Like, I'm very happy I could stream today because I wouldn't have wanted another day off. And will do. I'll tell Rexy when he shows up. Only solution if that happens is to change to follower only mode for a little bit, but here's hoping the bots stay away. Let's hope so. I've only ever been attacked by bots once in my almost 3 years of streaming on Twitch. Only once, and it was really weird. Hi Scaly, how you doing? It's good to see you. Oh my goodness, guys, look at all of you here. You know, was it my live announcement that tempted you all? Because I did make the live announcement a bit clickbaity today, I have to say. Today we're launching something that I think is going to be pretty cool. Come see what it is. Yeah, I'm teasing you all by like not saying immediately. Don't get too excited. It's nothing like wow or anything, but I think it'll help a lot with our project. We're going to talk about it quite a bit today. But it's kind of related to world building, which is why we've got world building in the title. So because of that, I'm kind of the skill tree battle mechanic stuff, that's our game dev sort of task right now. But I'm going to just put that on a back seat today. Maybe have a little peek into that again on Friday. But this is pretty cool, and I want to spend some time chatting about this too. So yay. Dropped it in general chat. Thank you, Azriel. Call Getty. Have I said that right? For the first time yesterday, and it was something special. Oh my goodness, I wish I could have seen a picture. Try. Hashtag marketing. Is that what you do in binary? My goodness me. That is something I'm, like to know, be better at, really, because I'm kind of a creative person when it comes to anything marketing or business. That's where I fail. Well, I wouldn't say I fail, but I definitely need to get to understand it better. All the regulars. Oh, did see that? Haven't been on Discord yet. God no, I was saying marketing because of clickbait title. I'm doing program. Oh really? Imagine if you had to do marketing binary. Would you like that? That was your job. But yeah, I guess I am okay at marketing then if I manage to put a clickbait title. Guess I'm not as bad as I think. Right guys, so let's get our Trello page away. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what it all is. Right, so if you was here last stream, you might remember that we spent a bit of time putting together some lore thoughts. We had like a Google Doc up and I was getting stuff down because it was fun, and I actually really valued those chats because us as a community together were coming up with some really neat ideas. But my only issue is that Google Docs isn't, although it's great, when we get loads of stuff, it could be quite overwhelming and not appealing for people to read through. But I found something that could work really well. I found a tool, and I've been messing about with it the last couple of days, and I've made a little lore bible of Raindrop Chronicles. It's kind of like a little Wikipedia in a way, but way better. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it before. It's called World Anvil. But I've kind of fallen in love with it a bit because it's kind of everything this project needs. And I don't know why I didn't find it before, because it's great. It's a great little thing. But yeah, let me know, chat, if you've heard of it. And if not, well, not all of you probably have, but I'm intrigued to know who has. And we'll have a little look at it in a sec. I actually have a lot of photos of my lockdown cooking adventures. I'll post them up. Yay, please do. I take that. We have an awesome community manager to handle that stuff. I'm happy not to do that. Yay. Binary programming only. What is it called? It is called World Anvil. Right, so I've joined the Discord here. And basically, to sum it up, it's a world building lore bible creator. It's literally, that's what it is. It's a website run by two people, and they have created it so that game masters, fantasy writers, and people like myself can easily put all their lore in one place together, and it acts as a sort of wiki where you can like look through a bunch of anything at all, articles, character profiles, timelines. You can just do whatever you want with it, and everything's really clickable, and it's very easy to navigate and use, and it's all web based as well. So all I have to do is give you guys a link and you can see it. You can see it right now because I've been doing it the last few days. Well, the last couple of days really. Design and programming client project involves writing as well, which I've been enjoying, although it's a skill I'm working on. Well, we're always learning, we're always getting better. But yeah, with Raindrop Chronicles, it's a very unique niche sort of thing we're doing here, and there'll always be a lot of experimentation and seeing what works well, what doesn't work so well, what needs improving, what needs changing, and that's fun. It's fun to experiment, and that's why I think let's try this little thing out, because in all honesty, this could have been done on the website, raindroprpg.com, but it's not the easiest to do because our website is very dynamic and super visual, and it's kind of not, a text-based sort of tool where thingy works wonders, I think, and this is really cool. I'm not showing it, I'm not getting it up yet, but I will in a sec. But yes, I'm going to show you all. Barrel people, yes, I'd say niche indeed. Yeah, indeed. Do you know anything else that's got barrels in it? Because I don't. Well, not barrels that have got faces anyway. Right, so, okay. I'm going to show you guys the website first before I show you our actual little lore Bible. Right, I'm on my dashboard and I don't want to be on that part. I want to go on the actual official website. Right, I don't think it's letting me, but in all honesty, this might work for you guys. I'll send you the link. Have a peek. Honestly, if you're like me and you're into, any of you here are making games, or I know a few of you are, or even if you do a D&D campaign and anything like this little tool is honestly a lifesaver. Like, I think it's going to be cool for us, so I'm going to get it up now, because I've been teasing you for so long, and this is what we're doing, where I'm actually showing you all. So you're using World Anvil, that's cool. Yeah, Master Emerald. Master Emerald's heard of it then, so yay. What do you think of World Anvil, Master Emerald, then? But yeah, welcome, Master Emerald. Hi Rex as well, thank you so much for the 34 months. Appreciate that. Let's have some hype in chat. My goodness, 34 months. Did you check out any of the RPGs with a lot of characters? Oh, aggro. I was actually having a quick Google of those last stream, but then I got interrupted because we ended up doing something else. But it's definitely something I want to research into, and I've got the list that you sent me as well. Very easy access to it, so for sure that will be really helpful. Not heard of it, Rose, but we'll be sure to check it out. Yes, so I've sent you guys the link to World Anvil in chat. So I wanted to show on stream the website, but it seems that it's put me in my logged in dashboard, so I can't you'd only see that if I got it up for you. But I can get the Raindrop Chronicles web link up for you guys that I've been making the last couple of days, and I want to make a bot command on chat for this particular link as well. So here we go. Right, so just as a quick brief summary, this World Anvil thing is on a subscription model. I'm using the free version at the moment. The good, wonderful thing about World Anvil is I could use it for free if I wanted to for quite a long time, because they allow you to do a lot with the free version. I was pretty impressed. It's not money grabbing at all. It's very humble. The people who make this thing are super cool. But I am very tempted to subscribe, because there's a few cool features that I'd like, and it would also hide ads as well, which is nice. And well, I'm going to see if it works well and how we go with it first, and if it's something that just works great for our project, then I'll probably will. So we'll see. Using it at the moment for my magical world mystery stories. Going to use another free world for sci-fi thing at some point. Oh, I'd love to see yours, Master Emerald. Be super cool. But so this is what it is. It's I'm kind of treating it at the moment as a sort of secondary website, because we've got the main one, raindroprpg.com, and this is like a one that's another one, I guess. But I'm thinking of, with raindroprpg.com, I'm thinking of, well, there's going to be another update with that soon anyway. It's going to look the same. I love the look and how that's all laid out, but I want to change some of the content in it. I want an FAQ page for sure. And there's a couple of other things I want to add to the website in the coming weeks too. And I'm thinking of getting rid of anything lore based on the website and put it in here instead, and making the content on the website different to what's on here. And of course there'd be a link to this on the website too, if we decided it's cool, which I'm kind of thinking it is. Looks good. I will add it to my list of resources to investigate. List is getting longer. Need to actually start going through it. Yeah, I spent like a good 6 hours researching this thing before I actually jumped into it. And then I was like, yeah, this is pretty neat because it's a subscription thing and it's very reasonable as well, that what it does, you know, it doesn't cost the earth, and it's just really useful for this particular project. So this is what it is, guys. There's a character section I put together. It's a bunch of folders, so it's going to work the same way as our Google Doc would have worked, except everything is put into folders and it's much tidier, more presentable and clickable as well. Like I can like underline things, like I've got Carol underlined here, and that way it'll take us to Carol's character sheet. And we can do that with literally everything. I could even underline that bit separated from family and link it to an article that talks about that part of the story. Even the races here, I could underline those too. And what's cool about this, wow, I'm here. What's cool about this is that you can link your Twitch. That's what I was going to say. I was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's a bit weird seeing me there, even though I was expecting to. Yeah, so I've embedded, my Twitch is actually embedded in this thing as well, which is pretty cool. It just says that the creators actually know what Twitch is as well, which is a big plus in my eyes. They clearly not have good taste. There's even a Discord thing and a Twitter thing as well. I want to get paid sub for it because for the mysteries thing, the family yeah, Master, I was thinking the same thing, and although we haven't explored family trees in Raindrop Chronicles just yet, it could be a neat thing for the future, especially as the characters, we develop them more. And it's not even just family trees, there's a lot of really appealing features. But I'm just impressed that you can still do a lot with the free version as well. I haven't done this trial thing where they say use free for 10 days or anything like that. It's very, very generous and awesome. And so yeah, I'm just really won over by it, guys. And I can send you all this link, and it's a way for us to, well, for everybody to actually, I suppose, understand the game in the best and most efficient way possible, because it's a collaborative project, and that's really important if we're all going to come up with cool ideas together, so everybody's on the same page and stuff. So what I have here, let's have a look at the character section first. Oh, you found it without me even giving you the link. That's awesome, Master Rod, and thank you for the follow. That's awesome. How did you find it? Did you put it in the search? Well, that's pretty good that it's searchable, if so. But yeah, so I've done Carol, Meryl, Alvira, Hank, Woody and Oliver, guys. What I am thinking of doing is getting everybody's character in here and doing this instead of character sheets. That would obviously make the character sheets we've done, like, you know, we've spent time in those, but I'm just thinking this could be the way to go because it's just way more easily editable like this. So I've basically just done it the exact same as how Carol's character sheet is. I've put in the info, but we have just more. It's just nice to think we could edit and add more if we wanted to, whereas with the current character sheet system we've got, because it's images, it's very like, oh, we can't edit them now because it's too much work. And yes, but this way it's just easier to make changes, you know. So I'm kind of the way, if this goes well, we'll see how it goes, but if it does, I'm thinking of moving the character sheets, all of them on here instead, and presented in this way. And just so you know, guys, if I do get a subscription on this thing, I'll be able to have more customization over the layout as well, which is pretty cool. We can pick colour schemes we like as well. Where is the world? Well, looks like Van wants to say. I'm going to give you guys the link in chat right now. I'm going to actually make an official command for it in a bit as well. But if for those of you that want to see now, those of you excited, there you go. There's the link. Feel free to browse to your heart's content. I've put in quite a bit of stuff so far. There's obviously going to be way more. But yeah, so I've made... We'll go through everything bit by bit, but I'll talk about the character profile stuff first. So here's Carol as an example. I've even done a community ideas and thoughts section, guys. Your name. Some of you might see your names here. But this is so I can keep track on potential ideas and plots and anything at all we can do, because I'm showing you guys something super secret now. But this is a Google Doc. This is what I do, guys. You know, all the interesting things you all say in chat every single stream that I copy and paste and put in Notepad. This is all of it. This is everything you guys have said. Or not everything, but the bits that have caught my eye that I thought, yeah, I'm going to copy and paste that. So what we've got here is literally just ideas, whether it was for combat, story, characters, items, or anything at all that caught my eye. So because I have everything here and have this organised system, it allows me to easily pick out something cool you've said and think, yeah, that applies to Carol. So I'm going to just stick a Carol quote thing by one of you guys in here. National, you're in here too. Somewhere you are. You're on Meryl, I know that. So this is Meryl's profile, guys. Yeah, here we are. Van's here as well. So anything that honestly that you've said, if you see a quote of yours in here, it's because I found it interesting and I don't want to forget it, basically. So it's something that could lead to a quest or just a particular thought about a character that I thought that's an interesting perspective and could lead to an interesting direction. So okay, so yeah, this bit that you said about Meryl and Oil Drum Van was quite insightful, so I've stuck that there. And of course we could end up like with something super long over time, so things might get like changed and switched around from time to time, but ultimately I'll always have your quotes anyway because I've got this massive Google Doc of everything. So I see my name, LOL. I know, right, you guys? Interesting to see how you've used it. Might steal some ideas on how you've used it. It's like sure, Master Emerald, and I might steal some of yours as well. Feel free to send me your link in Discord or message or wherever, Master Emerald, because I'm definitely interested to look. But yeah, so all Meryl's interesting quotes from you guys, everything is from stream. Everything that is in this community ideas and thoughts section are things that you guys have said in stream at one point or another. And there's just room to really expand on these profiles now. I was thinking of just having a section that summarises what happens to each character in each episode as well. I think it's a good way to keep on track, you know, because if some of you like haven't been here for even just a few days, you could easily, you know, you might think what's going on with Raindrop Chronicles now, what's happened since, and this is a cool way to keep everything updated, and doing it on this rather than the website is an easier job for me, just because it's just a really handy thing that these creators have done. You know, it's a really easy thing to just upload an article or a character profile. I don't have to design the whole thing myself, and it's not too time consuming like it would be if I was doing it on my own website. I think I want to keep the website as an actual sort of very visual, dynamic thing, but that sort of thing isn't as good for lore, because I was having trouble getting some of the character profiles and that responsive with mobile. So, but this is already responsive with mobile, so it's just easier. Right, so yeah, and I've got Woodies here as well, and there's someone, I think it was Chub Cheeks, said something really hilarious about Woody, but I couldn't find Chub Cheeks' quote, and I need to find it because I want to add that. There's some question mark ones because I don't know who said them, which is a bit frustrating, but I'm gonna like really try and find out who said the question mark ones, because yeah, it'd be nice to know who said them. Okay, so that's the character profiles, and I'm probably gonna, over time, not all in one day of course, because it'll take some time to get everyone put in there, but I'm gonna slowly add the other character sheets. Where are we? Here they are. Here they all are. So I'm slowly gonna add these very gradually to this thing, and then if everything goes very smoothly, I might just remove all these from that point on, and you guys will just view all the character sheets on here instead. The way that we'll do it, all the information will be the exact same, but it just gives us more chance to add more if we want easily, without having to edit a whole image file. Okay, so those are the only characters so far, but who have we got? Here we go, if you want to have a nosy on my dashboard. I actually have, what have I got planned? So, main characters, that would be all the Barrels, Carol, Merrill, etc. Playable heroes would be the playable characters. The allies and antagonists are those of you that are here. And then the citizens would be the current minor NPCs, I guess. But we don't have to rigidly have that wording. We could always add more as well, because it's unlimited how many categories and stuff we have. And that's just for episode 1 alone. So all the future characters that aren't in episode 1 will be put into this particular category. And obviously I want this thing to be super easy to use, so not only would you be able to access the characters from the character menu navigation here, but I want to underline as well every time in an article when we mention a character, so you can just click them and get to their profile that way as well, just for super easiness. Easiness, is that word? Posted them in random snaps before I started doing this. I was one of those people who couldn't cook and just did like ready meals, low effort stuff. Turns out it really isn't that difficult. Well, good for you, Try. I'm proud of you. That's super cool. And I'll have a peek at those soon for sure. So that's just the characters, but there's way more to look at. So now we've got the story so far put in here as well. So this is actually on the website at the moment. So what you can see here is this is exactly the same as what's on the website. But as I was saying earlier, I'm thinking of removing some content on the website and changing it to more appropriate content that fits the website better. So I'll probably remove this section from the website and have it here instead. Because I don't want to have the same thing in 2 places, because it's more effort and more work. So literally anything that could be on here won't be on the website, if that makes sense. But I want to make a fancy banner or visual that shows off this lore Bible on the website. Have it pretty high up and be like, click here to see our lore Bible. I want it to be super high up on the website so that we can put focus on it, because this is a pretty cool resource for us all. And so yeah, I've got episode 1 part 1, but I've also done the next one, guys, which, you know, none of you, this isn't on the website yet, this is something new that I've just done. So this is all that happens in the second main quest. So if any of you like weren't sure what happens in that main quest, this is the place to look. I'll put the link in chat again for you all. And I'm going to underline people's names. So when we've done Rose's character profile, I'll underline Rose, so it'll take you to her profile as well. And same for the fruits as well. I want to do a profile for those. And honestly, I did all the 6 container characters profiles in just an hour last night. And that is like 10 times faster than how long it took to do the actual image sheets. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes. Right, so we've got, I should probably put to be continued or something that shows this is the furthest we've got so far in the game. There's also a related article section that's here. And what I'm going to do for this is put in any link that connects with what's mentioned here. So, for example, the hijacking of a wagon is Carol's flashback that is here. So, all we have to do is click that and it'll tell you what happened in the flashback. And there's a related reading for here as well that is What Are Stars? And the reason why that's there is because, let's just move that across. Because the reason why that's there is because they have a conversation about stars in the actual flashback. And this is what we was talking a lot about in the last stream on Friday. Me, Van and Mia and a few others. And we made some notes on it. I want to tidy this up. It's pretty basic at the moment, but I'm thinking of putting some quotes in here as well. So yeah, I want to have it. My goal is that everything that's discussed, like this, when we talk about the story, to link it to any lore that is relevant to what has been talked about. So it sort of acts as a little Wikipedia, I guess. And then what else have we got? There's a racism faction section, but we haven't filled that in yet. But basically, humans, elves, fairies, Neko, all of those races, we can do a race profile for those. That is something we haven't done yet, but could be really useful because we can consider what they're actually like as races and have a look at the character sheets, the characters in the game so far that are those races, and any other ones that have been created by you guys, and pick out anything that we think, yeah, that start putting the race together and building a good profile for them, each of them. And that goes for factions as well. We haven't really talked about factions in the game yet, but there might be some that have been mentioned in character sheets, but we'll only focus really on what is relevant in episode 1 right now. And because the way I'm approaching world building with this is we're kind of starting small, but some people do it the other way around. They do everything that's big first, like get the world done and the themes and all that, whereas we're kind of just starting in the Lake Fall Everbloom Forest region and building from there and branching everything off, which you can do it either way, either works. Right, so, and then there's geography and locations, which I've done, which will be like the areas. So I'm going to add Everbloom Forest and Lake Fall to there. And we've got lore and traditions is another. So these are the articles about raindrops. So if you've seen the lore video on my YouTube, this is what that is. Same, what I say in that video is literally what's written here. It talks about raindrops and why barrels exist, well, where the barrels came from. Well, the barrels that came from is actually in the history and events section, the spell of Everbloom Forest. But they link to those. And we've got the antagonist is currently unknown here, but I'm probably change that to Chub Cheeks now. Chub Cheeks' character, because I think we've basically confirmed it's going to be Chub Cheeks. But he wasn't the one who actually did the dirty work here. He hired a spellcaster to do it for him. I don't think Chub himself, his character actually is a spellcaster. So he hired someone to do that for him. So that, when we change that to Chub Cheeks' character's name, we can link his profile in there as well. We've also got, the hijacking of the wagon is there too. So anything that happened in the past will go here. But if it's relevant to anything in the story so far, I'll make it a related article, just like I have for this. It depends on how you're building the world. With Raindrop Chronicles being community driven, your approach works well. Yeah, I think it's just a really efficient way because we collaborate all together. There's loads of us here that like getting involved. It's a efficient way to be like, yeah guys, there's the link. Feel free to read through it all and get a bit of insight into what we've done so far lore wise in the game. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool, because it's like a lot of you here might not really know those little details. Some of you might, those of you that are like really into doing this and hanging out. But even those of you that are and hang out every single stream and get involved, even you guys might, sometimes be away for a bit, because we all have lives, of course. And then when you return, you've be like, oh my goodness, what's happened? I'm lost now, because been gone for weeks. And this is like a really good way to be like, well, have a look through and see. You can quickly get updated on it all this way. And Django, thank you for the follow. I can't remember if I said thank you or not, but welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, I think I've gone through oh no, I missed the most important bit. The lives of Carol and her family. So I need to really make this a focus more. I think I might have to link it to Carol's profile somewhere. But this is the timeline of Carol's lifespan and the others. So this was talked about in the lore video as well. But it's nice to see an actual visual of their timeline. So we go through it from the least recent to most recent. So the spell was cast first. Then Hank and Elvira came to life. Then we don't know who they were, but this is another generation, because they're the grandparents, Hank and Elvira, and they're they're like the granddaughters. So there was obviously another generation in between those, which are them, and we've kind of kept it very a mystery who they are, but it kind of would work if it was Carol's parents, but who knows, maybe there was no one at all in that generation, and if there was, what happened to them? And then we got Oliver, he's the fourth generation that came to life, and it's in 3 months like sequences. Sequence the word? And then after that, a month ago, that's when Carol was separated from the family. And then after that, this was when Carol meets the hero. Episode 1 begins. So this is Carol's timeline. Well, not just Carol's, but all of them, I guess. Appreciate you sharing the site. You're welcome, Ashriel. So honestly, any of you that are building a world, whether it's a game, a novel, or a D&D campaign, I think it'll be a good tool for you guys. Well, I just had a really vivid flashback to an old browser RPG I used to play. Really, what was that? Try. In fact, Rose is simply awesome. Oh, thank you, Moon. That's very kind of you. I'm gonna blush. But also, what's cool about this is if you click the read full account at the event, it'll easily let you go to episode 1, part 1, because this is when Carol meets Hero. That's the start of episode 1, and then you can just read through all that. And yeah, So that's the sort of goal. I don't want this to get confusing. I want this to be as accessible as possible and everything to link really perfectly so that it's all chronological, if you get what I mean. Well, you can easily read it and not get confused, because any information you are confused at, you can read the related article, will expand upon it, if that makes sense. And then same with this, when Carol was separate from family, that links to the actual event when the separation happened, to that. And same for this, when the spell was cast as well, that'll link to the lore of the historical event of the spell of the Everblue Forest. It's not much of a historical event because it was only 15 months ago, but it's still history. So if you guys didn't know before today, the Barrels plus Woody and Oliver have only lived for 12 months. They're only 12 months old. Well, some of them are even younger. Only Hank and Elvira are 12 months old. That Carol, Meryl and Woody are 6 months old, and Oliver's 3 months old. But for the Barrels and Oliver and Woody, they're probably super old in their mind, 6 months can be a bit of a long time. Of course, their actual body has probably lived for years and years, but they've only been sentient for that amount of time, if that makes sense. Who knows what their actual bodies have gone through before that time that they came to life, because that's an interesting thing to consider too. There was talk about Elvira being like the king's barrel or something, or she was a special barrel that was used for special things before she came to life. Who knows how she managed to get into the Everbloom Forest since then, but she's definitely a very, very fancy looking barrel with that gold ring. Adventure Quest and another game by the same studio called Dragon Fable, which was in beta for back in the day. Oh, that sounds cool. What was it that reminded you of that though, Try? It's nice to get nostalgic though, isn't it? Back in the day being like 14 years ago, LOL. Yeah, what was I doing 14 years ago? That was 2006. Nah, that was the days after Neopets and Habbo Hotel for me. It was more 2001 and 2002 when I was obsessed with that stuff. And have a habit of stating the obvious. Oh, well, it's always good to hear that I'm awesome. You remember that as well, Mast? That's probably yeah. Oh, hi, Rando. Are you a bot? I've been warned about bots, so I think I accused you of being a bot. But I was like, is that a bot? And then I saw that you'd done it, so you're probably not a bot. I'm not sure. It's the general sort of friendly RPG playing with tropes kind of thing. I play Neopets too. I want to look into Adventure Quest now, because that would have been something I'd have loved when I was a kid, Bet there's so much I never discovered that I would have loved. I'm not a bot. Yay! Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're real. Welcome to the stream, Rando. How you doing? Okay, so where are we now? Oh, and I'll give you guys the link again, just in case anyone's just popped in. And wants to have a peek at what we've got here. So yeah, what's so cool about this is you can make timelines, and that can be something we do with other things too, if it's relevant. So I'm curious, folks, if there's anything at all that isn't in this little lore Bible yet that you think would be really useful, or anything about Raindrop Chronicles and at all that you would love to find out more about that we haven't currently done yet, feel free to say, because I can totally make a note, because it's always good to have something to go off. Oh, thank you for the 3 followers, by the way. Appreciate you guys that have followed. But yeah, one thing that comes to my mind in particular that we could do, we're working on, well, we've kind of fleshed out the container characters quite a bit so far, so we're good for them, although I still would adore expanding their profiles even further as well, and just adding more to the stars article for that, for what actually happened and who discussed what as well. And what's so cool about this is you can add embedded videos. So when I do make videos of the cutscenes, I can embed the video in as well to the relevant. Well, that's what I've done with the story so far, and that's what I'll continue to do, guys. So although the second story so far video hasn't come out yet, when it has, I will add it there. In all honesty, it's probably going to be very much what's here, but they'll just be like, of course, the game visuals will be alongside me narrating it, so there's some context to what's said here. But yeah, so we fleshed the barrels out. One thing who I would love to flesh out more are the fruits, because they're a very large part of this particular part of the story. So maybe doing their profiles could be cool as well, and it won't take long, I don't think, because it's much quicker doing the profiles directly on here. I might be a bot though, it would explain so much if I was. Who knows, we could all be robots and not know it. That would be crazy. I know what reminded me, you were talking about races, which got me thinking about vampires. There is a sub-race variable in Adventure Quest, which meant you could be human, but also like vampire or werewolf or whatever. Oh, really? That sounds cool. I want to play it. I want to play. Put it in Discord if you want to, because I wanted to say. A werepire. That's cool. It's cool when you get hybrid races. Right, so yeah, that's an option as well. The fruits, as well as Fiona Buckington and her brother, because one thing that was discussed at the end of Friday's stream, let me find it. Might be in the story ideas section. Yeah, this is it. This stuff here is literally what was said in the last stream by National, Mars and Van. It was about, we talked a bit about the NPC that gave us the quest to sacrifice Rose to the fruits, and we were kind of developing their characters a bit, so I could have a little peek at that sort of thing to help put their profiles together too. But other than that, other than character profiles, there's loads of other stuff we could do, folks. There's, like I said, we could do race profiles. We could also do the profiles for Lakefall and Everbloom Forest, the actual areas, because there's lore to discuss regarding them that we need to develop. Because that will help us come up with some really cool side quest ideas once we've fleshed out the lore in those areas too. Which will go in geography and locations. And anything at all that we develop over time that's on this particular list here, because we've got so much, folks, so much when it comes to world building. We've got the natural world, travel, medicine, architecture, professions, economy, which we've started. We've kind of started the economy one with the raindrops. Clothing, food, entertainment, politics, law, magic, technology, religion. We even briefly says that we might want to start thinking about the gods of the world as well. So, family, education, language, weather, We even said we could think about festivals and holiday events of the world as well. There was a lot that we could potentially add over time. So we'll probably, you know, if there's ever a point where we think, oh, it'll be cool to talk about that now, we'll work on developing it, which is kind of what we did with the stars in last stream, because we were discussing the flashback sequence with the barrels when they actually were talking about stars. And we even like considered the idea of the stars being the gods of the world. You know, that could tie in very nicely, because we've already kind of made that thing in the actual cutscene so far. I was even thinking of putting the dialogue in here as well, because some of you may know that we use Draw.io for dialogue in Raindrop Chronicles. Let me just get Draw.io up. Let me just remind myself of how all this worked. Okay, so we'll open this one. So really, Draw.io has been the thing we use for, especially for dialogue. We've also used it for skill trees, and I've also just used it for writing random text as well, which it's probably better to stick to World Anvil for that now, or Google Docs if we just want to write notes quickly. But I don't think it would be impossible to do actual dialogue things in here, because I saw this is someone else's World Anvil page. I was looking into other people's, and what they've done is this. I don't know if they did this directly on World Anvil though. It might be something they did separately and added after. I'm gonna have to find out. But it works the same. It looks very similar to how the dialogue trees look here, all in all. So it's definitely possible for me to just get a screen cap at least in here. I mean, I have to check what subscription model this is on, but like I said, I'm probably going to be a subscriber anyway. So but yeah, it'd be really cool if literally everything can get put in here, because I've always wanted things to be all in one place. Because at the moment, things are either on the website, on Draw.io, on the Discord. It'd be nice to be like, nah, everything's on here, you know, like, yeah. And that includes having the dialogue and the skill tree stuff on here as well, and any sort of messy notes and research that we all do together. That's definitely Draw.io. The trees from Anvil look different. Oh, really? Yeah, I was curious, because I was like, that is, you know, that does look like Draw.io. It's the arrows are the same basically, and the colours. But even if it is Draw.io and we can't do this sort of thing in World Anvil, it's nice to know that you can just get it embedded at least, which tells me I could just always embed this somehow and pop it into the World Anvil page, because then it'll be easier, because when we have when we're doing the story so far bit, I can link the conversations in as well, so you guys can get an even closer look at what's happened then as well, and get more clue on everything. Really, you'll be experts, you'll be pros at the game if those of you that spend a bit of time on this website. Simple, all 2D drawn art, so probably not too badly, just not very complex by modern standards. Yeah, I bet it was amazing back in the day though, wasn't it? Okay, so right here. So yeah, there's definitely way more to get put in for sure. Like what's in here so far is just like a day or so's work of me putting stuff in here, but over time, I mean, it's not going to be a quick process, because there's other stuff I've got to focus on, like our actual game dev and doing the skill trees and tidying up the battle system, which is kind of the goal for the next couple of months, and finishing the dialogue and scene stuff too. So I will be focusing a lot on that work, but I'll slowly be adding things to this as well. Right, but I did want to think about, and I know this is way up here for August, Lakefall and Everbloom, Forest, and the NPCs in Lakefall. And I don't want to think about it too much, because I definitely would rather spend more time on properly building the world of those areas once we've finished our current tasks. Before, you know, it's a lot, it can get a bit overwhelming if you do new things on top of things that you have to tidy up. But I think it'll just be a handy thing to have on our World Anvil page, because we haven't talked about the location much, and I was intending to do profiles on the locations anyway. It was here. And I've moved those all out there now, because it's a lot easier seeing them all there. Right. I'm thirsty. It's very warm today. Okay, so one thing I've forgot to do as well today was that in the Discord, not mine, the World Anvil Discord, that's it. There's a section, where is it? Anvil Streams, that's it. That you can post your stream in. Self-promo time, chat. Nobody else has posted though. I'm gonna be the only one. Okay, you may link your live stream, mention what you'll be doing. Okay. If you are found using this channel for off-topic streams, you'll be warned and you'll be banned. Wow. Okay, there we go. Wow. Am I really the only one that's self-promoting? Because there's a ridiculous amount of people in this Discord, so I couldn't be the only one. Okay, maybe it's one of those things that disappear after a bit then. Hope so, because I feel embarrassed being the only one. I feel like I've done something wrong, like I've been naughty. Okay. For festivals, the first heavy rain of the season seems something to celebrate, then the major heroes of the stars, then the minor heroes, then, with a year plus already past, is the person that casts the Everbloom spell celebrated as a hero or villain, or either, and the jury's still out. Ooh, very interesting stuff, National. I'm going to make a note of that, because otherwise I'll forget. So I'll pop that there, and I'll probably keep super organised, and on a daily or weekly basis I'll add the new things that you guys have said to our massive doc file here. Okay, so for sure those are really cool things. My eye's particularly drawn to the villain, the spellcast character, because that's very relevant to what's going on here in the whole main quest. And one thing you might have noticed, folks, or might not have noticed, is that I've written what Rose paints when you've defeated the fruits. And so after the battle, this happens when you've fought the fruits. Rose is able to fulfill Carol's request by finishing the picture she started painting. It is a portrait of a reptile. The party must return to Nightfall if they wish to find out information on this individual. That is where the story so far ends. Let me just get that there. Will any of the villagers of Lakefall recognise the reptile, and will they decide to hide Rose from Fiona Bookington? And Van Delia said last stream that maybe Rose could hide in the barrel. That's one place she could hide. To hide her from Fiona. I kind of want to give the player a choice. I think it would be exciting to give the player a few choices on where they should hide Rose. And have different outcomes for that, but that will all happen in main quest 3. Thank you so much, MXE Gaming, for that follow. Welcome to the stream. You are using RPG Maker MV. That's cool. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're making our little 2D project, our 2D game in RPG Maker, because it's a nice little engine. It's quite simple. It allows us to concentrate on storytelling. But sometimes it can be a bit limited, but I try and push the boundaries if I can. It's always fun to try and do that. And I think that one is a good place for her. It is. That's one option we're going to consider for sure for putting Rose in. But yeah, and I wanted to talk about the other part though, about the actual reptile and how this all links. The reason it links, and to just confirm, if you want to get a bit more insight onto the actual flashback, although I haven't released the cutscene yet, it's a plan. I'm hoping soon I can actually get a video for you guys to see this flashback in action that's mentioned here. And I would like to add this dialogue as well, if I can figure out a way to embed this. Not this one, the one with the conversation with the barrels, not the one with the fruits. But I do want to get the fruit one in as well though. But yeah, it does mention at the last part that Carol witnessed a dark-haired vampire jump on the wagon and attack the hijacker. That dark-haired vampire is Rose, and the hijacker that Rose attacked is the one that actually hijacked the car, obviously, and that's who Rose paints, and it's a reptile. So it kind of like shows that it's a reptile that's involved in the kidnapping of the containers, and that all fits because, now let's go on back to the spell of the Everbloom Forest again. The antagonist who is currently now made a plan to get, so this antagonist here that is behind all this stuff, you might remember I said earlier, is Chub Cheeks' character. And Chub Cheeks' character happens to be a reptile. So it's narrowing him down. Like, we're coming closer now, we're getting clues, we're getting a little bit closer to Chub Cheeks from finding out from Rose that it's actually a reptile who did the hijacking. It's not Chub Cheeks who did the hijacking, because he doesn't do the dirty work. It's one of his minions. Just a random reptile, probably, in all honesty. But we can turn them into an NPC and develop them more, of course, when we get further through. But yeah, so, and one thing I want to talk about here as well, let me get the assets up actually, because I actually do have assets of this reptile painting. So I think it's in this section. Because we started them on stream a couple of weeks back, so the assets are done. And there's hundreds of there's hundreds of assets. Here it is. It's here. Here we go. So let's get the assets of the paint. So this is the process of Rosie's painting. So at the point where the fruits interrupt them, she's only like got this far. Like she's only drawn a bit, you can't really tell what it is, but when the fruits have been defeated, she finally gets to finish the painting, and that's what we see. And obviously it's red because Rose is painting with her own blood, so we haven't got colours, but I'm going to tell you something interesting now. Why are you dressed like Wednesday Addams? Oh yeah, it's funny because this is an actual cosplay I did of Wednesday Addams once. I wore this exact dress and had my hair like this, and I guess it's just coincidence today that I've done my hair and I'm wearing the outfit too. The website is awesome. Thank you, MZ Gaming. But I hope you're having a good week. Thank you for hanging out and joining us today, though, and checking out our project. Right, so something was really cool was suggested about this particular painting when I was working on the assets a couple of weeks ago. I'm gonna get the actual thing up. So I think there's so many categories that I need to try and remember. If I do the search feature, that'll probably make it easier. Here we go. So it was Chub Cheeks who said it, so let me search by Chub Cheeks' his name. That's unusual because I am 100% sure I put this here. Now I'm feeling like I'm going crazy and didn't add it. It would be under story ideas, the fruits, if it's there, I'd say. Oh, here it is. I don't know why that didn't come up in the search unless I passed it like a big silly. But let's Hi Rod, how you doing? It's good to see you, Legmark. How are you doing? Story stuff. Oh, well, Legmark. If my clickbaity title made you intrigued, because my clickbaity live announcement, should I say? So I did put a clickbaity live announcement. This is what we're working on now. I've set up a little, I guess you could call it a little Wikipedia in a way, a law Bible wiki for Raindrop Chronicles, and everything is going to be here that's to do with law from now on. So anything, we're going to keep the website stuff. We're going to switch any law stuff on the website to exclusively on here and make the website have other things on it instead, like the FAQ page and anything that's informative about the actual project or game more. And we'll keep the actual law stuff on here, which is anything to do with characters, the story, races, geography, history and events, and or anything like that. So it's a really nice resource. It's perfect for anybody that's writing a fantasy story or anything at all, really. Or even for D&D people, it's great as well. So yeah, we're having a little chat about that today, just getting some world building, reminding ourselves of stuff that's happened so far. I'm thinking of things we can also add to this as well. And I've also got myself a little collection of everything the community have said. I think Legmog is on here somewhere as well, probably. I'd say so. Hero was swimming away in Twitch Ocean and some wholesome bait plopped into it and just couldn't help myself. Hate to take a bite on that sweet rosy raindrop bite. What a poet Legmog is. Right, so this was the idea. So Chubstick Cheeks had an idea that if you kill the fruits, you get more colours for this painting. Because one thing you might not know, the first boss of the game, you actually get a choice whether you want to kill them for good or keep them alive. And not every boss fight might go that way, but that one does. You get a choice whether you want to permanently kill them for good or keep them alive. And the community at the time we started that boss fight really liked the idea of having the choice for the fruits, because it could lead to different outcomes in the game of what happens. And one of the outcomes is that killing them could be appealing in some way, because you could get some interesting drops, that's for sure, that you wouldn't get if you keep them alive. And story events could happen differently as well. But one little thing that could be different was that you'd get more painting colours, because that you have their paintbrushes, because Rose only has red for her blood and the other fruits have other colours. And that would mean that she'd be able to paint a full colour version of this reptile, so we'd actually know, we'd get a bit more of an idea of what he looked like. But there was some interesting ideas about particularly why that would be good, but it would just it would just unlock some different things. And different dialogue options as well, but I thought it was an interesting one. So if we go ahead with that, then we might make a full colour one. Has everything been going all right? Yeah, Rod, I was a bit of a poorly one at the start of the week, but I'm better now. Yay. It was a silly tummy bug. Okay, so yeah, we just talk about the reptile antagonist, because we're going to be finding out more about that reptile antagonist in the third main quest of the game, which we'll be working on as soon as we've finished the second main quest. What else did National say? Because so, is the person that cast the Everbloom spell celebrated as a hero or a villain? Either way, the jury's out. Yeah, there's so much we could potentially flesh out. And we know a year has passed, so if we get that event up again, there's so many questions, like, were the citizens of Everbloom Forest even aware of this spell? Was it done in secret, that nobody even knew that anything happened that was weird? Or were they totally aware of this and it's become a big thing? So there's a lot of things to consider, but there's a few little bits and bobs that might fill in those questions. And there was something in particular, might be in story ideas here actually. Let's have a look. Okay, so yeah, it was something Zexion said at one point. He said they should be talking Lakefall of how dangerous the Everbloom Forest has gotten recently. Be that multiple people talking about rumours of monster attacks starting a half dozen weeks ago, or merchants talking about how the new dangers of their trade routes over the past few months, are a town elder talking about how she remembers frolic in the woods 30 years ago. Well, it wouldn't be 30 years ago, because we decided to make the timeline shorter, of course. It's only a year, 15 months. Well, to be accurate, 12 months since things started to come into life. But 15 months since the spell was actually cast, so 3 months of nothing happened first. It took 3 months for them to actually come to life. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting little bit of insight, which is why I copied it. But from that, it seems that the citizens know something's happening, because obviously things have come to life. Things are attacking them that wouldn't normally attack them, like living trees and living plants. So of course they're very suspicious and confused by what's happening, which makes sense. I doubt it would go completely under the radar what's been going on here. Because there was even a little bit of discussion of, do the barrels hide themselves in front of humans? And I'd say they try. It would kind of make sense if they aren't like too obvious. I mean, Carol the Barrel did show herself very boldly in front of the hero at the start of the game. And in some circumstances, I think the barrels aren't shy about showing themselves. Someone like Carol, with an aggressive nature, finds it hard to hide herself because she's just so emotionally driven. And it was the fact that she was so angry that the hero was inside her, Lude, I know, Lude, that her emotions overpowered at that point, and she was like, get out of me. She couldn't hold it in anymore. So yeah, she revealed herself to the hero, unfortunately for Carol. But I'd say they probably at least try to hide from humans because they don't want to attract too much attention that there's living barrels around. But people have got suspicions by now. I'd say it wouldn't be world knowledge that barrels are living or containers or fruits, but there's probably people that know that it's happening and are like, yeah, there's things alive that shouldn't be, and why is this happening? So I'd say, especially in the Everbloom Forest region, it would make sense that the majority of the citizens are aware of this, that things are alive. Maybe not so much outside Everbloom, if the spell the spell could have affected things outside the region for sure, and I think we liked the idea that it could do that, but it definitely, Everbloom Forest is the sort of epicenter of it all, so it makes sense that most of the living things are here rather than in regions outside the world. So yeah, I'd say yeah, they'd know that things are alive. Some might be in denial though, but others no. But the question is, would they know who did it? Probably not. Probably wouldn't know how it happened or why. Because they're probably scared and are trying to hide away from it all. And this is why I want to spend some time just briefly fleshing out the citizens of Lakefall and Everbloom. Just very briefly. I want to definitely expand more on it in the summer, in August, when we've done all the current stuff, but it doesn't hurt to just have a little bit of a discussion because there's definitely things to talk about concerning it all that it'd be cool for you guys to know about before August. You're a trickle, yay! Trickles are cute, and Moonshadow a wave. Does this blood lizard man come out of the painting? Well, that's a good question as well, National, and we definitely need to be careful there's no potential plot holes in that, because that was the goal of the fruits. They wanted to bring things to life, which is very interesting. There's a lot of questions that we could think, but we know why they wanted to do it. Apple has his reasons and the other fruits have their reasons, but there's definitely questions you could ask, like, well, why do they have to bring things to life? Things are coming to life anyway from the spell, so why try so hard to actually paint your own things when things are coming to life anyway? But I suppose it's because the things that aren't coming to life aren't that strong. They're just weak little fruits and weak little plants and barrels, but the things that they actually want to go out their way to paint are very powerful, indestructible beings that will be able to make them conquer Lakefall. Apple doesn't want to go those methods though. He just wants to paint a world, like sort of portal, so the creatures can live in peace away from humans. But unfortunately the other fruits are a bit more evil than Apple, and they need to be put down. Yeah, so yeah, there's questions to ask there, but I haven't missed any chat earlier, have I? No, I don't think I have. So does he come out the painting? Probably not. And the reason why probably not is because the fruits didn't get enough time to, well, they wanted Rose. They wanted her blood so that they could get this magic paint. And I think that they wouldn't have had the chance to do that because Rose is alive and well. if she had been sacrificed, then yeah, they'd have achieved their goal, and they'd have the magic paint, and they'd be able to paint things then, and they would come to life. But because Rose is still alive and here, that means the fruits have failed, I suppose. If there is a plot hole in that, feel free to point it out, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it anyway. But maybe there's something I haven't noticed or considered as well. Any plans for the evening and weekend? Oh, what am I doing tonight? Probably just sitting at my computer, probably. Maybe playing some Animal Crossing and chilling later. Other than that, nothing much. What about you, Rod? Trickles are awesome though, yay. Every wave began as a trickle. Yeah, that exactly. Every wave began as a trickle, and every tsunami began as a raindrop as well. I think I'm a tsunami, aren't I? Raindrops. Let me see. Yeah, I'm a tsunami. I'm on my way to being a leviathan. Yeah, you too, Rod. You have a good evening. You're in denial? How so, binary? Hi, Kung. How are you doing? It's good to see you. I'm doing good, Kung. I'm doing good. Hope you are too. Ooh, look at all those raindrops. You're in denial like the villagers, yes. And I think that's what I want to spend some time talking about, because I think it'd be really cool to just have a very brief sort of summary of what has happened in Everbloom Forest, what we know about Everbloom Forest so far, and what the people living in Everbloom Forest are like as people. Just very, very brief stuff at the moment, and then we can flesh it out further when we get to this part. You know, when we move on to main quest 3 stuff and world building the region and developing NPCs and side quests, we can really get into it deeper. But I don't want to like put all that on you too fast. It'll be nice to think of some of it now and sit on it for a few months while we're doing this stuff, and then return to it with all our ideas that have been forming. So I will say that there is some info about like Fallen Everbloom Forest that was discussed in very early streams, and I'm talking very early here. Stream 1 and 2, in all honesty. In stream 1 and 2, when we first started this project, the first thing we ever talked about was Lakefall and what the village of Lakefall is like, and we don't know much in all honesty, but we do know a bit, and I haven't talked about it in months. So it's a good idea to bring it up again now and potentially make a location profile for Lakefall. And yeah, maybe it would be cool to think of some themes as well, because we haven't even considered themes much. And I think that's because themes are such a big thing, and we're starting small rather than big. I say that, but then we were talking about writing out all the gods and that would be a big thing. But you know, that would be exciting to do. I can kind of see myself doing a bit of both, doing some small things and some big things. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. I don't think it's honestly what fits best with what we're working on, I guess. You will be watching the Wholesome Games video later. That's your evening plan, Rose. Yeah, Radsriel, got it. Yeah, I'm better now at home on the couch. Yay. Couch is the best place to be. Right, guys, so I was looking through my notes and there was absolutely nothing about Lakefall here, I don't think. There was some stuff about Stumpy though. Now, if you're new to this channel or new for the last couple of months, you wouldn't know who Stumpy is. But I'm looking forward to talking about Stumpy again because it's been a long time. And, yep, all I'm going to say is Stumpy's amazing. Okay, I'll tell you who Stumpy is. Stumpy is a cute little tree stub that's alive. He's a living tree. and he's an enemy in the Everbloom Forest, and everybody became obsessed with him. And there's probably going to be a side quest on Stumpy as well. Right, so but let's put Stumpy to the side for now, because he's not really quite involved with what I do want to say. I've got some NPC notes here. Okay, so should we make a Lakefall profile? I don't know if we should jump straight into World Anvil for doing this. I might use Google Docs to write notes and just copy and paste them into World Anvil later. So I might need to open up another one, or I could just write. Yeah, I probably won't write in here because I want to keep this for just community notes. So let's open up a brand new one. I did have dark mode for this the other day, but then it started to really get on my nerves for some reason, the dark mode did. Because it messed up with some of the text. Because it's not, dark mode isn't an official thing in Google Docs, it's just an extension at this point, unfortunately. But yeah, I think Google Docs is easy to just get some quick notes down in, just to summarise things. And so don't know why I've put that. Lakefall, that's it. Lakefall and Everbloom Forest. Nobody put Stumpy in the corner. Hi Tillers, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Wow, I love those ducky emotes. They're absolutely beautiful. What a cutie pie. How are you doing, Tillers? I hope you're having a great day. Okay, so yeah, we've done 0. I'm very ashamed to admit we've not even done a location profile for Lakefall or Everbloom Forest yet. So that honestly means that there is no development at all in those areas just yet. We've got a lot of room for creativity, but there is something that is very important to say about Lakefall. Now, I'm going to get RPG Maker up because we're going to just browse Lakefall. We're going to look at Lakefall as an area and what's special about it, and just have a notice some things, because there's definitely a few things we need to talk about. So here's Lakefall, and I am gonna tidy it up because there's a few visual things I want to neaten with Lakefall. I want to put some flowers around the outside so it goes with the whole floral theme more, and then it won't be so sudden when we move into the flowery floral Everbloom Forest. It'll be more of a seamless transition then, so just a few flowers around the edges maybe. Right, so the interesting thing about this little village, now here we are, it's tiny, right? It's a very small village. We have an inn, we have a tavern, we have an item shop, and we have an armory, blacksmith store. And we can say that the few NPCs that do live in this area also live in their places of work, because there's actually no houses of residence here that we can see. There's only like places of work. So the innkeeper would live here, the tavern people would live in a tavern, they'd live in there. So everybody, it's a very small village. And one thing about it that is interesting is this particular part, this tree and these graves. So there's a bit of backstory here that was discussed in super early streams that I want to talk about, but it's still very, I could literally sum it up in one sentence. There's a lot of potential for fleshing things out, but I have a couple of ideas, but I'm interested to see where we could go from here, and if anybody has any even cooler ideas too. Looking at the law, Carol is convinced Rose knows where they are and rages over Rose being able to speak. It could be cool to incorporate Legmog here, as she is always causing trouble for Rose, and Legmog could have been the one that kidnapped the Barrel family, and Carol mistaked Legmog as Rose. That's an interesting way to think. Honestly, I would totally go with that aggro if it wasn't for the fact that Rose clearly does know things, because she paints a picture of a reptile, which means she herself was the hijacker. But I do like the idea, and I think it'd be really cool. I'm in agreement to get Legmog's character involved sooner rather than later. Definitely when we get back to Lakefall and there's talk about the Lakefall NPCs really not liking Rose, like Fiona Bookington and some of the others maybe their reasons for not liking Rose are because of what Legmog has done, for sure. I think that'd be a really good time to introduce that imposter sort of doppelganger story with that character. But yeah, I would have considered that as an option if it wasn't for us Rose confirming that she was the one that was there, for sure. Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, we was looking at Lakefall. So people are dead and they're around this tree. And let me see if I can find that info, because this was way back. This was like the first ever stream when we talked about this. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go by memory, I think, because it's been so long since we talked about this last, but I do have a memory and I'm going to write the notes down in Google Doc. Is Lakefall the area where the inn is located? It is national. So this is the inn, and Nigel Bookington is in this inn. This is Nigel here. I've even made some NPC notes on Nigel. Nigel is overprotective of his sister, maybe because he recently lost someone in the massacre. Now, you're probably thinking, massacre? Well, this is what we'll talk about in a bit. So, however, maybe the truth is that he's scared of being alone in case the murderers come back and want his little sister to protect him, rather than the other way around. So, to summarise Nigel, he's a bit of a timid, shy boy. He's very cowardly. His sister Fiona, who is the girl that we find in the first main quest, who we figure out has captured Rose, she is far more. She's sassy, she's brave, she's got guts, and she's younger than him, and she's also a girl. So it's kind of a gender, like, you know, the strong, brave girl, but the timid guy thing, and I kind of like that kind of subverted expectations, I guess. So, and I did like your idea, National, as well, about the fruit basket actually belonging to Nigel instead rather than Fiona, because it's kind of a funny twist. So I did make note of that one, and it's one I want to think about because I like it. These graves, are they older or newer? New graves would go with the increase in danger, but these seem like old honoured graves. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that as well, like the timeline on this grave business and things to consider, like questions that we might have, because I think it'll be cool to do that. Sammy Work, thank you so much for that. Host, how are you doing today? My fault for not reading it all the way. I stopped there and had an idea and got excited. Oh, no problem at all, Aggro. I can totally get why you'd get excited, because it's a really cool idea. And in all honesty, it's only because Legmog's character is a recent one in the last few weeks. I wasn't even aware of this potential character arc until a few weeks ago, and we'd already done the scene with Rose painting the reptile at that point. And so it could have been definitely something to consider if it wasn't for that, but I think we can still the way we're going still works fine, because if it was Legmog being an imposter of Rose, then all that would have done would slow down the story, which isn't always bad. Of course, that can add tension and make things exciting, because you're like, oh, damn it, now we'll never know who kidnapped the children. And it could have like just slowed it down a bit, but yeah, we've still got some exciting things planned for Legmog's character, I'm sure. It's definitely going to be episode 1 side quest content, potentially. Yeah, maybe even somewhere in the main, but I don't know yet. We'll have to say, because the main quest is going to be more focused towards the reptiles, maybe, but we'll see. No problem. Have a great stream. Thank you, Sammy Work, and let's give Sammy Work a shout out for that host. I hope you had a good stream. I hope it went well, and welcome everybody who's come along with the host. Right, so yeah, let's I'm gonna copy what National said again, because it's all stuff I don't want to forget, all the interesting questions. That is all very handy for this. So yeah, there was a massacre. These notes reveal that there was a massacre. So that is the one theme, key event and standout plot point about Lakefall. These people in these graves were killed in a massacre, and why they were buried here we don't know. There's a tree here, we know that. It's an old tree. It has a face on it. Whether this face means it's a living tree and it was brought to life by the spell is a possibility. Maybe it was a tree without a face at first. Or maybe the face is just for decoration and it's not alive. But the community at the time said that this tree is a good tree, and they felt that that's why the graves were buried here, as like a sort of, I suppose it's an area where the citizens would feel that they'd be honoured in some way, if that makes sense, if they're around this tree, because it's a good tree. It's the opposite of Father Maple, which is a tree that you actually fight in the Everbloom Forest. Where is it? Here he is. There's Father Maple. That's the evil version of the tree. And there's Stumpy as well. That's who we was talking about earlier. So as you can see, we kind of had the living plants and creatures there that would have come to life from the spell. So yeah, there was a massacre, and yeah, it could have been years ago, this massacre, or it could have been more recent, but I would say it was definitely before the spell of Everbloom Forest, for sure. But yeah, this is what I want to chat about now, thinking of a potential timeline. It could be anything. It could be anywhere between a couple of years ago or a decade ago, if we really want to have it far longer. It could even be longer than a decade if we want it to be. But I'd say that the people who live here, like Nigel and the other NPCs, would have probably been old enough to remember these citizens. I'd say they were maybe their parents, maybe Nigel's and Fiona's mom and dad was someone killed in the massacre or something, because they don't have parents, it's just Nigel and his sister that are running the inn together. Maybe that's why they don't have parents, because they're in the grave, they're in the ground. And same for the others that live in the tavern and the item shop and the blacksmith as well. Maybe their family. There were some that were lost as well. Fiona, how old did we say Fiona was? Did we say 13? It's around 13 anyway. Maybe Fiona was a very young child and doesn't have much memory of the massacre, and that's why she's the most confident one, because she was too young to be traumatised. This is where things are interesting. Binary Ferret mentioned that he'd be in denial, like the villagers, and this is what made me think they're scared, timid, and hesitant and in denial about the recent events of living barrels and dangerous living monsters because of their experience with the massacre. It's kind of traumatized them to an extent that they're being as avoidant as possible now, and they're hidden away in their little village, safe in this little place over the bridge, trying to make sure that they don't get hurt by these monsters. And maybe they think the tree protects them somehow, who knows. Sort of God for them. I don't know. But another thing as well is the reptiles to think about, because I want to just let you know that the reptiles are the ones that did the massacre, because that's going to form the conflict between reptiles and humans. And there's a bit of a backstory that we can develop, and it's still very, very basic. I could write just a sentence, but let's get that. So humans versus reptiles. Because when we go back to Lakefall and say, oh, do you guys know this reptile about the one in the picture that Rose painted? It's gonna come to light at that point that the humans of Lakefall do not like reptiles very much, and that they hate them, and they're like, please don't show us that picture again, because there was a war, basically, and maybe that war was 10 years ago or 5 years ago. But what has happened since? Like, where are the reptiles now? That's the question. There's a lot to consider, guys, but I've got some thoughts, and I want to talk about my thoughts, and see where we can go from there. Why are fresh raindrops valuable in the lore? What does the preservation process add to the value of raindrops? I'll add those questions to my list as well, Aggro, because these are all very good, because if there's ever any gaps to fill in, which I'm sure there is, to expanding on these articles with the questions you guys ask is always a good idea, because we want to fill in as much detail as possible. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save your questions, and I'm gonna have a good think about them, and same with some of Nationals as well. Okay. Right, so I had a bit of a hiccup then. And if you want to ask any more, feel free to, and I'll save those questions as well. If there's anything at all that you're like, there's something I'm intrigued about in particular with that, I have a question, and yeah, totally feel free to throw one at me. And I might not be able to answer fully at this time, because sometimes I, focus on one thing, but I always like to copy and paste, because they're important, of course. Right. Okay, so where were we? Yes. So one thing I wanted to say was it's a human-only village, Lakefall is. And that doesn't mean there's not other races around, but I'd imagine if there's any elves or any other sort of races that aren't human, there might have been, what's the word? I don't know if exiled is the word, but I really wanted to bring Kung's character in at this point, because she's a forest-based character, and she always appears in forests if we look at her character sheet. But she's an elf lady, which would mean she wouldn't reside in Lakefall, because only humans are allowed to live here, the racists. But that doesn't mean she isn't a forest dweller, she could be a dweller in the Everbloom forest, and maybe because she's not human, she has to live in the forest, and that's why she's not welcome in Lakefall. But what about the reptiles? Well, I figured they could have been forced to live in this cave, or maybe they weren't forced to live in there, but maybe they're in there planning how they're going to invade Lakefall. There's all these themes of conquering in this episode so far with the fruits. They wanted to conquer Lakefall, and now maybe reptiles are wanting to conquer Lakefall as well. But from the fact that there was a massacre by from the reptiles would mean that they originally did try to conquer before anyway. They wanted to live in Lakefall because that, why else would they have come here and killed everyone, you know? And the fruits, what they're doing is kind of a history repeating itself, the cycle repeating itself once again, but with the fruits, not the reptiles this time. But you know, we stopped them, we stopped the fruits. History always repeats itself because people are idiots, that's why. And also, another thing I wanted to say was there's interesting things to consider as well. I would really love it if we made the reptiles more sympathetic. I don't want them to seem, oh, we're these bad guys that are conquering this little village, poor humans, we're the baddies, the reptiles. I thought it'd be cool. What if the reptiles were the ones that originally lived in Lakefall and they were the ones exiled by the humans and they're just coming back to take back their homeland? That's another thing as well, because then you would totally get why they did it to some degree, because it was their home and it was actually the humans that invaded and colonised and stole the home from the reptiles. And let's catch up with chat. Graves surrounded by water, a vampire captured and sentenced to doom. These are vampire thralls in those graves, and if they were buried anywhere else, they would come back to life as zombies. That was my first idea. Maybe those are reptile graves. It would always be cool if there was a twist. I mean, on the surface, and the obvious thing is that there would just be the ancestors of the village of Lakefall are buried here from the massacre, because the reptiles killed them and the humans are living here now, so they wanted to respect their ancestors and bury them by their wise old tree. But you know, if really there was some unexpected happening in those graves, that and it wasn't as what we think, that's always very cool as well, if we could make it make sense, of course. But yeah, so I want to get the obvious things in on our doc first. Just get all the obvious things put in, but of course any unexpected twists or subverts of expectations or any plot points that you guys think of, feel free to throw at me. I'm going to copy and paste nationals just so we don't forget it. Pardon me. Okay. Sounds fun. I like the idea. Yeah, I'm glad, Kung, because as soon as you did your character sheet a while back, she's going to be that sort of NPC that dwells in forests, and you always see in forests in the game. So it only makes sense for her to be in Everbloom Forest. I can see, because she is an elf, that she would be there, and she's living in that forest, and she's not welcome in Lakefall because she's not a human. But she's a sort of wanderer anyway, isn't she? She's probably happy with that because she wanders from forest to forest. Okay, so humans versus reptiles. Let's get it back up. So that's one thing we know. I've got to get all my thoughts down that I've just said. But I'm going to look back at the notes that I've saved, the questions that Agro asked and what Nationals said as well. Because once I've got all my thoughts down, I'll be able to think of those things even with a clearer mind. And I don't want to forget anything that I said, rambled on about. Fantasia, thank you so much for the 32 months. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. Let's have some hype in chat. How are you doing, Fantasia? Hope you're having a good week. I accidentally clicked the hug emote, but I don't mind. You can have to hug in the hype, can't we? Yay! Thank you for the hype, guys. Right, so one thing we need to mention is we have 2 antagonists currently in our list of character sheets that that are actually reptiles. Chub Cheeks' and Rex's characters. They're two of the antagonists, and one of them we've already considered bringing in the story, Chubs, because it all links in with the Raindrop plot. And the main character arc, the reptile that Rose paints, is a minion, like a henchman of Chub Cheeks', so it's all gonna eventually lead to Chub. Where Rex's fits in with that, we don't know. But he's could come in with this whole lake fall sort of lore and with the massacre, I suppose, because his character does fit with someone that probably would be one of the leaders trying to invade Lakefall again, and might be hidden away in a cave, in that cave somewhere, plotting, ready for the next invasion. But yeah, it's all very, this is all first thoughts here. Where this goes, I don't know, because it's always good to have twists and turns in the story. But there was always a human and reptile conflict. There was always going to be one. With the fact that there's two reptile antagonists in the game, those two characters were created very early on. And the fact that Lakefall happens to be a human populated village as well just makes it the perfect opportunity to do the human and reptile conflicts. And of course I'd love to make the reptile sympathetic if possible. That would be great. Cursing a game's controls, but good otherwise. Oh no, I hope they sort themselves out, Fantasia. How dare they? And hi Nungi, how you doing? It's good to see you. Agro says you can make it to where Lakefall is the only place where fresh raindrops occurred naturally, and originally the lake was used as the village's only source of water and did not know its value. One day the reptiles witnessed the value of the water source and wanted to take it for themselves. Maybe the magic has been lost from Lakefall due to the greed, and that could have caused the spell of the Everbloom forest. Maybe the only way to make raindrops do what they're used to is through the preservation process or the raindrop striking monsters. Well, I'm definitely going to save all that aggro. We'll see if of course it's workable in the information we've got, but it's always good to see it from everyone's perspectives. This is what I want you guys to read our lore Bible. Anything that pops out to mind about what you read and you think, oh, maybe this, maybe that, it's always very cool, because it can flesh things out further, but yes, I'm gonna keep all that there. Unless anything else. So I think there are suggestions on humans having reptiles as servants and treating them badly. Yeah, and don't remember if that was yours idea, Rose. Maybe there was, and we'll get that. We'll get everything down. We can always list the reasons why there's a conflict. Why do they hate each other? Because there's always a reason for why it came that way. There's never just no reason. I suppose people can be racist for no reason, of course, because that's how things are, but sometimes it's nicer if there's an actual history there as well, just to flesh things out more. Subhype, by the way, yay! I like the idea that the reptiles were protective of the village, fighting alongside humans against something, or no humans involved. Yeah, it's just very difficult to make that possible, reptiles and humans being friends, if that's what you mean. Because of the fact that we have two antagonists that really despise and want to kill humans. Of course, I love it if things change so that it ends up in friendship at the end. That would be great. Or even, like I say, make the reptiles sympathetic in some way, because I adore sympathetic villains. But this guy is out to kill, so he has to have a reason for that. And this guy is more motivated by money as well, but he definitely has other Like he wants the world to bow to him as well, maybe because anything getting rich will help. We don't actually know why he wants to get rich and what his reasons are, because he's the antagonist who is involved with the whole spell stuff. But this one just wants to kill, outright kill, not just want them to bow to him. So they've got slightly different goals with what they want to do to people. One wants to kill and the other wants them to force them into servitude. But yeah, they're antagonists, and maybe, you know, some reptiles aren't evil, not all. Someone did say something about that, and I want to read it because it was super interesting. But was it under race? Yeah, it was races, I think. Yeah, have some red lizards just be included in the human society as peasants among the poorer humans. Probably the target of bigotry still, but just to make it so that all lizard men aren't completely distinct from human society. So the discrimination is a little more tangible and less he said, she said. You can see it happening rather than having to just hear about it. Yeah, that's more about actually seeing it happen. You know, not just having it be the history, but actually see the lizards living. And that can happen in areas outside of Everbloom and Lakefall, you know. In some of the big cities, we could totally have that sort of thing where the lizards are among the poorer class. Right, so... But yeah, what Nashel says, although it might not work for Lakefall in particular, because I imagine they're a lot more evil here if they want to conquer and kill. We've got Rex's character there, but for sure, just from that particular comment there, some of the lizards in other cities in the game might be a lot more against that stereotype that has formed. Because it would be great. I just love it when the villain isn't always the bad guy, you know, like when you actually think, these reptiles, I love them. I like the reptiles. So at the start, it's like they seem like they're the bad guys, and we get this impression that they're the bad guys because we're listening to the humans. And they're seeing it from their perspective. So we're like, yeah, they must be bad then because the humans have said they are. But really, maybe they're not. You know, maybe the humans did some twisted things that they just haven't told us, because why would they? But yeah, so reptiles and humans. So I'm going to just write a quick summary of what I've rambled on about. But yeah, of course, anything at all you want to challenge me with or throw out questions, feel free to say. I might not answer them immediately because, in all honesty, my brain can't take too much information in at once. But I'll always make note of what's said and bring it up at another point. Or put it into our lore Bible if there's a place for it. I love the enemies that you can agree with. Yeah, I just love villains that you can actually think, I like that person. And when you actually start liking the villains more than the humans. And although, sorry about the bashing, guys. I want to just point out as well, because Rex's character's pretty evil from what we've got here. But I want to just briefly say that Rex's character is going to be an optional playable character in the game. So we decided we're going to do that, and that will only happen if he grows to sympathise with you as the hero from how you've handled things with the reptiles. Because I can imagine us going down a more sympathetic route where we start to sympathise with the reptiles, and if we do that, then he'll join us as an optional player character. But we could also take a route as the hero where we end up hating the reptiles and agreeing with the humans, and if that happens then he wouldn't join us. So it's an interesting thing. having a villain join us, you know, in the party. So that was something that we decided months ago, but haven't talked about because he's not in the game yet. Right, so getting access to the containers that keep the raindrops valuable wouldn't be such a bad thing if reptiles are genuinely kept poor of the currency. Wouldn't be such a bad thing if the reptiles are generally kept. Yeah, honestly, the whole currency business, there's so much more gaps to fill in. So if you guys, if there's ever any, I know I go through a few ideas and suggestions, and some of them like could I mean, I haven't took them all in properly yet because there was a lot there, but I'm never read later and see if what works and stuff. But gonna copy what Mars says as well. There's so much to fill in, that's for sure, and getting that lore to totally make sense and be detailed, but without being convoluted and without having any clashes, will be a definite challenge, but totally doable. It's just seeing what fits and what totally works and makes sense together. But yeah, honestly, so much things to consider, like the rich and the poor in this game. Like, are the raindrops fairly distributed or are they not? I mean, from what we've gathered from the whole section, I mean, it's very brief at the moment. There's definitely way more that can be filled in. But what we can gather is that, yeah, it's the government's job and the banks to sort of, they're the ones that do it all. They keep control of this raindrop business. They keep the currency under control and in line, because otherwise it would be chaos. If they didn't do this, people would be going out catching raindrops themselves, and life would be just very unorganised and messy, and it wouldn't even work as a proper currency if things weren't kept under some kind of control. This is how it is. So it's given the impression that there's a very organised approach to raindrop distribution, and the government probably seems like it fairly puts them out in different areas. Maybe we haven't really discussed much of that yet, but I would still like it if things were more corrupt than it seemed, and poor and rich still existed. I mean, maybe the government are like, you know, they're doing it so they can just get rich, and there's a lot that we don't know that's happening behind the scenes. But yeah, poor and rich, it's definitely something to think about too, because we haven't thought much. There was a lot. There's been loads of ideas. Like, there was talk about desert areas being poor, hot climates being poor that don't get much rainfall, and the very marshy, boggy places being very rich. Maybe even the government headquarters could be based in a sort of area like that. If there was unfair distribution, I guess that world would kind of work. But you know, it's something to think about. It's a lot to take in all at one go, and it's all seeing what works and what doesn't work. Because you know, plot holes can happen as well. You can think, oh, that's cool, and it's like, but we can't have that because of this. And sometimes you get those plot holes and those clashes. So, but it's nice to have the ideas thrown at you, because that's better than nothing, at least. And anything that we can make work, then yeah. Still haven't got anything in. So humans versus reptiles. Okay, so there was a massacre, and just because I'm getting this down, there's always room for flexibility and the odd changes if something works to change, but I'm going to try and keep it brief and not an open-ended if we can. But what I'm keeping down kind of has to, a lot of it is set in stone, I guess, because of the character sheets that we have that have confirmed this kind of storyline. and the village design that we've got with the graves, I guess. So there was a massacre X number of years ago. We still don't know yet, so we'll keep that flexible. Should we make this? There was a massacre, oh, we have to say like for X number of years ago. All graves of those killed are buried in the centre of the village. Should we zoom in a bit? Around a tree. Only humans live in Lake Fall. And those buried are their parents, ancestors. So that's what we think, like whether that's the truth. I mean, if I totally be up for a twist in the tale if it worked and if it was awesome, you know. And who knows, maybe they're not the humans, the ancestors at all. It's actually some of those buried are totally something else. But of course it has to make sense and work and be like a wow moment if we're going to do something like that and not just throw it in for the sake of throwing it in. But yeah, I'm totally for the unexpected is all I'll say. So feel free to throw things at me, chat. And maybe Rex can convince me to wipe out the human race. Maybe. And the massacre could be the event that prompted the Everbloom spell in the first place. Maybe a mass seizure of all illegal rain vessels. Right, so let's get all this copied in, because that is an interesting point. And my brain's definitely done a melt on the whole currency thing at the moment, because it's such a complex, very complex lore there with the raindrops and how it's all come about. There's a lot there, a lot involved, to simplify. But I definitely think it's a cool idea to think of how the two events connect, because the fact is there's a spell that happened in the Everbloom Forest, and there's so many questions there, like why was it that the spellcaster hired by Chub Cheeks' character, why was it he chose the Everbloom Forest? Was he someone that lived there, so they just did it because of that? Did he find Carol and the containers there and he thought they looked cool, so he just did it because of that? But maybe there's a far more interesting reason why he chose Everbloom Forest as his actual sort of source. Well, I don't know if source is the word, you know, where the place of where to cast the spell. Could it have just been random, or could there have been a whole reason why he chose Everbloom? And maybe you guys mentioned something about that previously in chat, and if so, it's here in my notes. I just haven't read it properly yet, but it's all there. I'm copying everything you're saying, folks. So, okay, so, but I like the idea of the massacre having a link to, or the Everbloom spell having a link to the massacre. There being some link there at least between the two. But I like the theme that we've got going with history repeating itself in Everbloom and Lakefall, because if we go for a conquering thing, which kind of makes sense if there's a sort of conflict between humans and reptiles, if the reptiles tried to conquer Lakefall and that's why there was a massacre, that's you know, then there's a sort of, it's repeating itself with the fact that the fruits were going to do the same thing with their plan to conquer Lakefall. And then there's the whole thing, is Fiona Buckington, why would Fiona Buckington be in league with fruits, you know, that are trying to conquer Lakefall? I mean, maybe she isn't, but maybe she isn't. I liked National's idea last stream of she's doing it for her brother, to sort out his mess, and the basket belonged to him. That was an interesting twist to take the whole story in. Like, she could have been being blackmailed by them, or who knows. Okay, so only humans live in Lakefall, and those buried are their parents' ancestors. And they said that, and according to them, those buried are them. Yeah, so I thought that'd be a good thing to say, according to them, because it's not a fact. You know, they're just saying that, and yeah, maybe that is how it is, but you know, maybe they're not. Maybe they're a twist. I like to keep twists open just in case. But right now, you know, we'll stick to the obvious and the very surface level things. So, although, right, so whilst we need to get in, all graves of those killed, buried. Right, so the reptiles were the ones that caused the massacre. So this is all law that was decided super early on in this development, you know. Polls were done on this and everything about, and it ended up winning. Like, the reptiles should have been the ones that done it. So out of respect, I don't want to like change that, but it all works, it all fits, you know, with the character sheets that we've got to have this kind of story. And it'll be a good way to get Rex's character put in, and obviously we're getting Chubbs introduced and put in there because we're linking it to the main story now as well. Okay, so I don't know if that's the right word in cause the massacre, but that's all I can think of right now. So yeah, I just want to get in all the facts, I guess, and then we can think of all the detail in between once we've got the facts down. Right, so since then, they have been hiding away in a cave. Planning. I mean, the obvious goal would be that they're planning their next invasion, you know. But I don't want to, I don't know if I want to, maybe I'll put perhaps banning next invasion. Invasion, is invasion the best word to use? But yeah, that's also a good way to, because I've always wanted the cave. Let me just get the cave up again. I've always wanted this cave. I mean, it was always what was going to happen, to be the next dungeon, because there's a hole there in the mountain. It's the perfect place to have another dungeon. And because it was always just thinking, how are we going to link that to the main quest that Carol, the hero, and Rose and company would go in there in the first place? What would their purpose be for going in this cave? And I suppose to find the reptile. As soon as they see the painting that Rose has done of the reptile, they and they're like, okay, where are the reptiles? And the villagers act all, they don't like it because there's this sort of conflict between them and the reptiles, and that's when we'll get the history and some of the backstory on the massacre. We'll figure out that they are in the cave, this cave, and that will lead us to seeking them out, I guess. That is the obvious thing, but I'm excited to see what, you know, where that could go, because things will get far more exciting than just that, I'm sure. Right, but I definitely want to reread some of your ideas, guys, because they seem pretty cool, and I know that it could flesh things out, but I'm trying to remember, is there any more facts that I've missed here? Oh yeah, there was something I mentioned as well, but it's not something that's set in stone, it's just questions. I'm gonna have a questions list section here, just for, you know, things that we can all consider together about this particular world building we've done. Okay, so my question is, well, not just questions, thoughts as well. This is more of a thought than a question. Maybe the reptiles were the original originally lived in Lakefall, and the humans selfishly colonized, invaded many years ago. The reptiles just want to take back their home. And I think that, just that, I mean, we could go even deeper still, but just that could make them a little bit more sympathetic. That was my first thought anyway. Because then they're, you know, they're not being the ones selfish and taking back a land that wasn't even theirs. But I think the main reason why that thought entered my mind was the fact that Lakefall is really not the sort of place humans would have be living in anyway. I mean, it's very isolated, and I imagine it, just from the look of it, somewhere that a more oppressed race would be living. Like, humans would be the powerful race, you know. We've got a king that's a human, we've got a prime minister that's a human. We've kind of established humans as the more powerful race in the world, and from just that knowledge alone, why would the humans be the ones in the foresty, isolated areas of the world? They'd be the ones in the bustling cities, and you know. But so you have to consider why there's humans living here, and I suppose just pure selfishness. They were greedy and just stole land from some reptiles that were trying to live in peace, away from everything. That could work, but I'm interested in other thoughts too. Right, so should we bullet point this? Where's the bullet? There they are. Okay. So I think that is really all for me on my end that I wanted to get down, because this is all stuff that's set in stone, really. So it's just expanding on that and thinking of thoughts from that now. And I'm gonna reread anything that you guys have said earlier in chat. I'm gonna reread now and get my brain around them. And yeah, so okay, I'll ponder on it and see if I can come up with a better story. Better as in the one I suggested, yeah. And if you've got any further ideas from the one that you thought of earlier, feel free to update it. aggro. And yeah, I'll definitely I want to have a read. And sometimes my brain, as you know, guys, can't always take everything in while I'm live streaming, but I'll always read it off stream, and for sure I'll be regularly updating the lore Bible we've got as well. So the felines could be very good at pushing humans around from cities. Yeah. It's all really fascinating now. I would love to develop the races more at this point and think about what they've done and their relationships with each other, because I want to build race profiles soon, or at least make a start. And what we've got here is some start on that with the humans and reptiles. So maybe, it makes sense that the look of Everbloom Forest and Lakefall would fit for a very isolated race more so. This being the reptiles' original home, and they're the original race that lived here from the beginning, is believable. And I don't know if there's any plot holes in that, but I think it could work. But humans being selfish and greedy and invading also, but okay. So where's my Google Doc? Oh, there we go. There's it back. Hi, Wes, how you doing? I hope you're having a good day. Did I say? I can't remember if I said hi or not. Hope you're doing well. But the felines could be very good. I'm glad that felines have been considered. I want to definitely consider where the other race is coming to. So pushing humans around from cities. What do you mean by pushing humans around from cities? I am intrigued by that, but I'm a silly Billy that sometimes doesn't understand. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste it anyway. Okay, so I'm going to read some of the other stuff that was mentioned earlier now, because now I've got everything down. We can do that. I didn't want to lose my trail of thoughts or forget to put any important details down. Okay, so right, the thinking of how it links to the Everbloom spell, yeah. So a mass seizure of all illegal rain vessels. Okay, let me get my head around that. Right, so yeah, it's all this whole raindrop concept. This is where my head goes like this now, because there's just so much potential lore that you guys could have even thought of that hasn't even crossed my mind yet, because it's all very, very simple stuff that's here right now about the raindrop lore. And there's probably, honestly, I'm kind of expecting this, there's things that you guys probably have got in your heads that hasn't entered mine about this lore, and that's kind of where my brain starts thinking, oh, what's that, I'm trying to get an understanding of some of the suggestions. It all sounds really cool, but I want to make sure I'm getting it. So tasty lore indeed. Yes, we've got ourselves a lore Bible now, Wes. So yeah, I'm totally, anything you guys are thinking about when it comes to the way the economy's run. I mean, we've only got 2 articles here right now. Very simple. One about the actual currency, what it is, the main one. And the reason, I mean, there could be other forms of currency. There was speculation of in poor areas, in deserts, that they have another form of currency because raindrops don't get distributed to where they live because the government can't be bothered with them, maybe. And they're just left to rot. So those living in desert areas might have come up with another form of currency. Perhaps it's a thought anyway. It might not just be raindrops that are the currency, the whole world. We have to consider poor and rich, and how, if this is a fair world, and come on, it probably isn't a fair world, because since when is a government fair in a story like this? So that's the poor rich thing is something to consider, who's affected and why. Because we've got all this says, in all honesty, all this says is why they're valuable. Well, it doesn't say why they're valuable. It says what. Well, it gives the reason why they're valuable because there's an element in them. but I'm sure we could go deeper still here. So let's see. Could be the spell of the Everbloom Forest actually isn't the spell of Everbloom Forest. It was just the last place affected. The spell could possibly be a global spell due to the imbalance and inequality among the races, and the massacres could have led up to the inequality in the Everbloom Forest, as it was the last place that had equality among the races. Could be why Elvira is so racist too, because she was affected by the spell. Yeah, we could, honestly, there's so much. Maybe that is why Elvira's racist, but it could also be because she's just a barrel and she don't like anything that isn't a barrel. There's so many questions and we could be here forever, and it's all very fascinating. And it's just, we gotta decide what is gonna fit and what's gonna work. So if it was the last place, if we were gonna go with something like that, we'd have to, of course, thinking, well, where was the place that the spell was done then? And it would make us need to think a bit further out then. And the fact is, we haven't developed any regions outside of Everbloom. They're all a big question mark at the moment. And we keep it like that for my own sanity, I suppose, because if we think too big, in all honesty, I'm trying to focus on Everbloom right now and to develop the world as we go, just so we can do small bits at a time, I guess. And but yeah, if it works, and this is why I want to ask all these questions now, and you guys can chat amongst each other as well, like about these things too, if you want to, of course, because who knows what someone else is saying might be something you think could totally work. And if anyone's getting ideas from anything all that's said in chat, then I'm totally interested in that too. But having the government promoting just one currency makes it easier to control the population. Yeah, for sure, right? I guess it would depend, and if there was another form of currency, it would because I could imagine it would be because that region is independent from the government and has nothing to do, like they're separate from it, they're living independent lives. And if the desert areas, say, have been neglected and just left to this away and left to rot, then that would be a reason. But it's all things to consider, because it's everything at the moment, when we haven't set things in stone, anything's possible or not possible. All good. Now, I've forgotten how you're doing. Yes, I'm feeling much better. My tummy's better now. I thought Beryl was the racist one and Elvira just didn't approve of Axel. But about the felines, maybe the felines make friendly with human cities, naturally moving with families and just end up outnumbering the household occupants. Oh, right. Beryl was a barrel that was never created. Is that what you mean, National Beryl? The barrel that never got through the poll. Yeah, we did have an original really racist barrel, I remember now, and I think, yes, that was Beryl. And I think Elvira kind of ended up taking some of Beryl's qualities just to give her a little bit more of a stereotype, because having a racist character amongst them kind of just was something that was very irresistible to do for us, I guess. But I think Elvira, and I do agree to a certain extent with National, that we shouldn't make her too unlikable, because we want to save these guys down with these barrels. We don't want to make Elvira a villain. She has to have some kind of likability factor, and I think that's the thing with Elvira. She is a bit racist, but she's got her good points too, and the reason for her racism is because of exactly what you mentioned at one point, Nationally. It's because she's got it's her family values and her fear of the unknown, and she wants them to be this community, and she doesn't want anything breaking that. And we're trying to give a kind of reason for the racism, and that can be a challenge to do because racism is such a nasty thing, but thinking of why they're like that is what gives the characters depth, I suppose. So are you discussing about the currency of the game? We're kind of discussing a bit of everything. Forgotten, because we've made a lore bible now. I'm going to link it in chat again just so everyone knows about it, and I'm going to make a command of this as well, and also get a link on the website in the next update too, because I want this to kind of be showcased quite predominantly on the website, because it's going to be something that we kind of, you know, it's a good way for everybody to be on the same level with this and kind of get what's happening in the easiest way possible. I think I kind of love it. I like this little system. So yeah, we kind of been talking a bit about but we've been also talking about where are we? We've been talking about some of the areas now, because this is the area of the game we're working on, and we're kind of just filling in a bit of detail here. And I've made some notes of what you guys have said too. Ever try playing D&D with this lore? Sounds like it'd be a good time. Yeah, I'm a massive D&D noob. Massive D&D noob. But I am in a campaign with heavy guidance from people because it's my first one. But yeah, it is good lore. It's interesting lore. Still lore that we're developing, but it could totally work. Imagine a D&D with barrels in it. That would be fun. I understand just brainstorming. I just thought that it could be a cool twist. Everyone thinking the spell originates in Everbloom Forest, but it actually originates somewhere else. Yeah, and honestly, I do like keeping things open-ended, I suppose, because it always it allows you to have that potential twist or unexpected outcome. But of course, sometimes you have to plan ahead to make that work as well. And if there's a way we can make it work, I won't it won't be an automatic no, because you never know. Something really cool could make sense from that. But there has to, I suppose, be a good reason. I need to still read properly what you said, because I'm going to make a note of it. Yeah, I've got one now. How's the stream going? Not too bad, Rex. Getting all the info. Getting all the info in and things considered. And I think my main thought is that you guys have brought up a lot of interesting things about the currency. Like some things that I'm reading, I think that sounds cool, but I'm not getting, simply because what I know about the currency is only what I know. I don't know if that makes sense, but how I'm viewing the currency at the moment is very simplified in my mind. Even the spell of the Everbloom Forest has been very simplified in my mind. It's like I've got these facts of how it's all working, and I'm sure that there's little holes there that can be filled with detail and more questions. But I'm kind of, I need to kind of still get and I hope the cave is more of a series of underground tunnels, and a mission is we go undercover dressed as reptiles trying to find out what they're planning to do. That's pretty cool, because right now everything's pretty standard. Like the way it's going is we're in the third main quest, we're gonna find the reptile that Rose painted a picture of, so we'll have to go to Lakeville first and ask her information. We'll figure out that there is a conflict between humans and reptiles at that point, because and we'll kind of get a bit of insight that there was a massacre, and yeah, they'll probably say to us they live in the cave, and from that point we go to the cave and investigate. But what happens in that cave is all a big question mark, that there's so much room for exciting plot at that point. And that is interesting. Dressing as reptiles, pretty quirky. and funny, you know. Maybe they'll be friends with us then. How would Carol dress up as a reptile? I'm imagining Carol now. How would she dress up as a reptile? There's got to be a way, surely. I've copied and pasted but forgotten and said. No, seriously, how would Carol dress up as a reptile? Because I'm actually hoping that could work, because that is just weirdly ridiculous in an awesome way. Carol with little wigs. Like, imagine them in the cave. They're like, they've got in there, and the hero and Carol are like, and if there's any other party members that have joined at that point, they'd be like, okay, so we gotta find these reptiles, but they'll kill us if they see us, so we gotta dress up as them guys, right, let's get started. Carol's like, okay, what about me? So yeah, I'm loving the idea of Carol being dressed up as a reptile. Carol reptile cosplay. We paint her green, oh my goodness. And if there was any green paint left over from the fruits, yeah, we'd already have that. LOL, that would be funny with a green cloak and like a cardboard pointy spines on her back. Yeah, where would we find all this costume stuff if we were going to do that day? But because it's all very interesting, and I'm definitely going to... I've made a note of this in my notepad file, because when we get to this point in the quest, it's going to be something I'm going to be wanting to be reminded of course, because in all honesty, the way it is at the moment is very boring. All it would be, before this suggestion, of course, would have been the party go in a cave and find the reptile. That's what it'd be. That's boring. We want to like make the adventure there, fill it in with loads of entertaining moments. So a dress up kind of thing definitely would work and just make the whole adventure more fun, I think, when they're in the cave. What happens when we find them, we don't know. That's something we'll get to. And right, I'm getting all the things copied and pasted. Right, so I'm going to be reading back, because honestly, National and Agro said some really interesting things, but I'm trying to wrap my brain around them because... Right, so I'm going to get our Bible up, guys. So we've got the currency here. We've got this article. We've got this one. Is there anything in particular, any questions jumping out at you guys about this? Because I think Agro asked one, and I'm going to go back through my notes to remind myself of what that was. Why are fresh raindrops valuable? That was Agro's question. I can see it now. So we've got here, they contain an element which makes them valuable. It's X. We don't know much about it, but there's a lot. It's probably going to be quite magical. It's something about it that's special, but the origins of this X are so mysterious at this point in the game that there is just, we're keeping it extremely... We're not going to be revealing any of this early game, let's put it that way. We keep origins about X is a mystery, and I'll say there's been some talk of it. There's been a bit of discussion, and I've got some ideas, but it's still very early on in development. I've been DMing a couple of folks about it. So once there's more freshed out about X, I'll definitely make a link on this lore doc about that. But yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any other questions that I haven't considered myself about this, because at the end of the day, I'm one story writer, and maybe there's something I've missed that is like, oh, but what about that? And that's what I'm wondering about. So right. Tetsu, thank you so much for 29 months. I appreciate that. How are you doing, Tetsu? Yay. Let's have some hype in chat. Yay. Yay. I appreciate that. That's nearly 30 whole months. Crazy support. thank you for the hype, guys. Right, so yeah, it's pretty brief. There's only like a couple of sentences of this stuff, and I could definitely see us fleshing this out more. Right, so, but at the moment, yeah, only the stuff that we know is here. Look at all that hype. Okay, so yeah, in all honesty, the answer to that question so far, why are the raindrops valuable? Why are they valuable? It's as simple as because there's element X in them. That's literally all we know so far, that there's element X in them, and that's why they're valuable. There's probably a whole history of, you know, why this X is so special and everything as well. And that's something that definitely needs to be talked about at some point, because even if we can't like talk about it in huge detail because we want to keep it mysterious, we can still at least write a bit about it maybe. But yeah, we've got distribution here, but rich and poor was one. I'm going to have a quick look at currency questions on here. So there's a section that's about economy somewhere. Where is it? Where's it hiding? There it is. So yeah, distribution of wealth. We've kind of covered it. We've got how is wealth distributed, but we can totally write more because we haven't really said how it's distributed. We've just said how they control it and keep things organised to stop people from getting rich. We said how it's controlled, but we might need to expand on that with you know, where it's distributed and if it's done fairly or if it's unequal, and if certain areas are affected and certain ones are more rich. Where even are the government based as well? Like, have they purposely based themselves in an area of high rainfall? Or are there lots of little branches? I suppose there'd be different branches of banks and they'd go out and catch the rainfall. But yeah, what about the criminals that get caught as well? The ones that get caught catching raindrops. I mean, they can't do it because it's of no value, because they need the special containers, so it kind of makes it pointless. But you'll always get people like the antagonist who cast the spell. You'll always get people like that trying to, you know, maybe do this kind of thing to get rich, but maybe you got to be a super skilled spellcaster. You know, maybe it's not something that happens very often. Maybe this particular event is literally the only occurrence, or one of very few occurrences of when someone's tried to corrupt the system and get rich illegally. I mean, that's something to consider too, because National mentioned something about tying it in with the massacre. Whether these are related events or not is interesting. Hi guys, Nicole, how you doing? And hi Scaly. Did I say hi to you, Scaly? I can't even remember. How are you doing, you two? Hope you're having a good Wednesday. I nearly forgot the day then. So, yeah, I'm not sure if there's any like super things that are sticking out at me at the moment, because there probably could be, but we'll say. I'm going to look back in chat, some notes I've made. Ooh, graves surrounded by water, and I just know that just caught my eye, which is very a true point. Let's get our map up again. So they're surrounded by water. Maybe that's kind of done something to the bodies. I mean, I imagine that there's quite a lengthy, long rock through this lake. But who knows? Maybe the water's had some kind of impact on the bodies. But ow, gosh, I'm trying to get comfortable. Right, so that's just extra detail there. If we want to like think deep with this grave business, okay. But yeah, let me know if there's anything sticking out at you guys about what has been written and set in stone so far. I'm going to put the link in again in chat, because on it I'm noting anything that like is being mentioned or any questions sticking out. I am making note. I'm not very good at taking it all in sometimes, but I still like to have it because very handy, very useful to read through, especially when I'm alone in my room at night and I can just stare at the screen with a dead face. Okay, so maybe the people who tried to steal the raindrops don't know they need a special container and try to get them with their bare hands and have funny side effects on them, and the jail is full of funnily deformed criminals. Oh my goodness, deformed criminals. Like, we haven't even considered jails. This is why I love law, because you start off, I like starting off small with one thing and then just expanding and being like building this whole world from that. Other people do it the other way around. They start massive and then fill in the little gaps, but I like doing it the other way around. I'm going to copy that as well. I'm going to read it properly again in a sec. Let's read what National has said as well first. Their spirits entered the water, dripped down into the cave system, and was used in the Everbloom spell. Okay, so I'm definitely very keen. I mean, it's not essential to do it, but it's cool. It would be cool if we made the spell link in with like foul law, you know, because at the end of the day, we don't know who the spellcaster is yet. It could literally be anyone. All we know is that they're good at magic. But Chubcheek's character was the one that hired them, and he's a reptile, and he probably is in that cave as well. Or maybe he isn't. Maybe he's elsewhere in the world right now. I can see Rex's reptile being in that cave though. But I don't know if we'd find... We'll have to see, because that's something we don't know yet about where Chub's character is, because we might have to meet the other minions first. All depends how it all links in together and ties in. But you know, mentioning how it drips down into the cave system makes sense as well, because if you look at the location, it's in the centre, right? Everybody's body is buried in this centre, and then we've got Bless Cascade down here, and then we've got these layered sort of cliffs, and then Tall Stone Mound. Yeah, it links down to here, and there's the cave. It's directly below the bodies, guys. That is creepy. Holy crap. That's no coincidence. Well, it was accident, but I didn't purposely design it that way. But that's how it's come to be. This tile set looks cool. Is it going to be multiplayer? No, it's not. It's a 2D single player RPG, MXC gaming. Just like your old school retro, Final Fantasy, Chrono Triggers, etc. Okay. Richard, thank you so much for the 9 months. I appreciate that. How are you doing today? Good to see you, Richard. Thank you so much for that sub. Let's have some in chat. And there's a random Christmas doggo in the middle of, of that hype for me. A random Rudolph. All the dots are connecting. Thank you for the hype, guys. I appreciate that. You're awesome. But yeah, I like that. That is, I don't know if National noticed that, and that was something you observed, National, about the cave system literally being underneath the water. But it's literally, that is how it is, because there's I've connected all these maps together on a paint file somewhere. Let me just find it, because I want to get it up now, just because I'm excited. Right, give me a minute or so to try and find this file, because it's been a long time since I did this, but it's somewhere. It's probably in my main Raindrop Chronicles folder. I would not have deleted this. Oh, here we go. Why is it all over there? Here we go. Gonna have to zoom out a bit, I think. Okay, so it isn't all done, but if we copy and paste this, don't know what zoom level we've got to have it on, but let's see, because we didn't paste the mountain area for some reason. I think we got to do that. Nope, we need to zoom it in one more. Nope, we got to zoom in again. There we go. Yeah, I think that's the perfect size. So what I'm just doing, I needed to get a screen grab of this area with the cave. Just so we can stick it here, because this is what the Everbloom Forest looks like when all the maps are put together, guys. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. That's like before we even put the trees there in that third map, but of course it's all there now. Some great ideas going around today. I know, and honestly, I apologise for when I get brain melt, because I think a lot of people can relate to this. Taking on a lot of information sometimes needs the time to process. So everything that was said that I didn't read properly in stream today, I'll be reading after. But anything that's like super easy and simple to take in, I usually can. And when I read the whole cave system connecting with the water, I got that one. So that's not too complicated for my little brain. So here we go. Let's just do a little. So this is where all the graves are buried. And for those that don't know, I'm gonna refresh people's minds on what this is all about, because we haven't talked about this little village much yet, and which is bad, because it's the area of the game we're in. This whole region here is where we're spending all of episode 1, guys, so it's very important to get this world building done, but we've neglected it because we've been focusing on the actual main story rather than the location lore. You can only do so much, can't you? But now I wanted to spend a stream where we revisit this and actually get some thoughts into our minds about this place. Because in the summer, later in the summer, July, August time, we're going to create some real side quest lore here and all that kind of thing. So it's nice to do it early. But yeah, so let me just, here we go. Yeah, so there was a massacre in Lakefall X number of years ago. We've still got to decide how long ago. But all the graves of those killed are buried in the centre of the village, which is there. Only humans live in Lakefall, and according to those humans that live there, those buried are their parents and ancestors. That's what they've told. That's what they'll tell us anyway. Whether there's been a sort of little bit of discussion about those that are buried underneath are actually something else, and whether that's something that's going to happen or not, I don't know. Yeah, it might actually genuinely be just the ancestors, but it's always cool to think of these twists at least and have them in your mind just in case it fits and works. But the reptile, pardon me, I nearly did a choke then. Hi, where's Leslie? How you doing? I get it, it's Wednesday. Yeah, what a coincidence. I'm dressed as Wednesday Addams on Wednesday. That was honestly a coincidence, guys. But yeah, it is made in RPG Maker Envy. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, we're talking about lore today, and for our little game, and yes, it is made in RPG Maker. So yeah, and the reptiles were the ones that caused the massacre, and since then they have been hiding away in a cave, which also happens to be this cave right here, directly underneath, by complete coincidence, that is. Well, it isn't completely underneath, but let's just draw an arrow. Is that straight? I don't know, let's look. Yeah, let's do it straight from the tree. The tree's in the middle, so there we go. If I hold shift, it makes it straight for me. So there we go. That is where it is, so slightly not the cave, but it's clearly, like, you know, when you walk in that entrance, that is directly the middle bit, and I find that quite interesting, I have to say, and I'm kind of keen on having a reason for that. And what National said was, let's read it again. Spirits entered the water and dripped down into the cave system and was used in the Everbloom spell. So I don't know about it, whether we will have a connection with the spell or whether that will be workable or not. We have to think about that a bit more. But I do like the first half of the idea and with this whole thing. And even if it doesn't work for the spell, it'd be cool to make it work for something. Have to consider all options. So maybe a grave digging crime is committed and we discover that reptiles were buried there as well, linking the ancestors of the humans with the reptiles. Let's copy and paste that as well. But yeah, it would be really cool if there was a massive shock somewhere along the lines here. It's interesting, and I want to go for the one that makes the reptiles sympathetic, in all honesty, because I guess that's kind of where I see it working in a good way, because it's just too predictable if the reptiles are like clearly just evil and then it's the end, you know. Having a little surprise thrown in is interesting, but that's just one idea of mine. Sympathetic reptiles. I am totally keen on any other potential themes and ideas too. But the cool thing about this being episodic as well, and that we're only focusing on one region at a time per episode, is that I suppose we're going to we'll explore different themes for each episode, I guess, and it's going to be an ongoing story. I know I had the question thrown at me, are all the episodes going to be separate stories all the same? It's going to be an ongoing story, you know. Each episode is going to follow on from the previous, but the content in each episode will probably explore different themes, you know, based on that region we're in. I mean, Everbloom Forest, we've got the enchanted sort of setting going on with the whole bringing to life things from the spell. We've also got racism as a theme between the reptiles and humans. We've got potential, the whole colonizing, invading, conquering sort of things. But yeah, episode 2 and 3, etc., might explore totally different things than this. It's lucky, that's fun. But yeah. Okay, so what's above this cave entrance? I want to see now. You know something else that's interesting as well? You might have not noticed this. There's a hole in the wall. Just a very subtle crack. Yeah, I wonder what that is. I wonder what that is. Maybe someone's living in there. Maybe there's some secret stash. Who knows? Okay, so I think, yeah, I want to remember that the cave is directly under where the bodies are buried, and who knows how far this grass piece here is, how much rock is underneath there. I mean, you know, is it just mostly water under there where the bodies are, or is it all rock? Is it a pillar of rock? Because it could go either way, you know. We can't say. We can just imagine what it is. Could be cool that the element from fresh raindrops was discovered during a scientific experiment. Yeah, so I'm going to make a note of that as well, aggro, because there is actually somebody who we was having a conversation a couple of days ago about this element, in all honesty. So we were thinking of getting something written up, like sort of article that goes into more depth about the element soon. So I'm going to throw them a message a bit later, and we can have a look at what you guys have said and see what connects with it as well, because that'll be really cool if we can get a bit more thoughts and potential kind of like insight on that element. Because yeah, it's all a big mystery, and we're gonna have to like clear this mystery up by the looks of it, because it answers a lot of things. It's a big thing, considering the whole game is based on this currency thing. Well, it's pretty much the focus, isn't it? At the moment anyway. So thanks for all your thoughts and ideas, folks. There's a lot of there's loads of cool things to read here. Honestly, there's loads I'm gonna read, and everything's gonna get put into my little file anyway. Here we go. So I've got this little file here, and I'm really glad I've got this. It keeps everything together. So everything you guys have said today will go in the relevant category. And I'll pull all the ideas from here when I write the Lore Bible. As you can see, I've already started quoting community ideas and thoughts in here. So be prepared, because you might see something you've said here from time to time. Where are you going to sell the game? Steam? Steam would be a wonderful thing for this to be on. For Raindrop Chronicles to be on, but I need to properly get my head into gear about platforms and that, because it is 100% going to be on PC, and I guess Steam would be a good one, but I suppose you have to keep your options open. Yeah, it's something that's going to be in the process of being thought about properly at some point. MXZ. And we could have a scientist in the village that is more advanced than his time, using a more advanced equipment that the people are used to, making him get shunned from the villagers and forced to live on the outskirts of the village in a more modern looking house made by him. Yeah. We've already got a few NPCs in Lakefall, and it's not a very populated place because it's so small, and you know, because there's only 4 buildings in the whole area. So let's have a little look at it again and see what we've got, just to we go. Landfall. Yeah, we've only got 4 buildings and they're all shops, so it's kind of like the people that live here are the people that run the store, so it's quite humble. But you know, if there's some kind of scientist, maybe he's hiding in a hole. You know, there could be a twist like that. But the general NPCs that we've met are very like, you know, the innkeepers, the people we haven't talked about them much at all because we did for one stream a very long time ago, but we'll be revisiting them all again shortly, and some of them might get altered a bit because it's been so long. I don't know if we're gonna have the Sanders guy anymore. I mean, that was kind of a meme, and I don't know if we're still gonna go with that, but we'll see. But yeah, I imagine someone being here, like, that maybe shouldn't be. You know, you never know, because it's interesting. That's a little... I put that there on purpose, that crack, because I wanted to see what ideas could come. Some random thoughts people had for what that could be. It's fun to always think and speculate. I butchered all that though. Now you read it out loud. I need to write my... Yeah, I think you mean shunned. I think I got that, but no worries. I'm going to copy and paste that one as well anyway. So, oh my goodness, I can't believe how fast stream has gone today, guys. So it zoomed by, but let's just recap. So we've got our new law Bible thing, and I still need to make a command for it. Of course, we got this. If anybody at all, if anyone's thinking something desperately needs answering on here, like if there's any like real big gap that anyone has come across, feel free to throw it at me and I'll make it a priority. But yeah, I'll slowly be adding more and filling in those gaps, and we've also still got the scenes of Main Quest 2 to polish, and those scenes are basically the scenes that happen in this part here. So the first half is the flashback scene, which is this one, and the second half is Wet with the Fruits, just before the boss encounter. So yeah, I'll be polishing them, but might be doing that off stream, the scene polishing. But whenever they are done, they'll be posted somewhere, probably both on the Lore Bible and the Discord maybe. And other than that, yeah, just battle stuff. So whether we go back to that on Friday, maybe we will. We might split it. We might do some battle stuff and do any lore whenever it's relevant to the stream, if anything gets said that we need to have a chat about. So we'll see where it takes us. My goodness, over 400 now. Aggro. Exciting. It would be kind of nice when our hero is stuck during a quest and he needs to go to the scientist and he gives him bizarre equipment to help him. Awesome. I love the idea of cool items and really unique items. I even made a list of some really crazy items somewhere. I'm gonna have to find that and talk about them at some point. You know, some like really interesting inventions that could, like, it's hard to like talk about it when I haven't got the list with me, but there were a really couple of cool things on there that could potentially have really interesting outcomes. Items are interesting for sure, and I'd like to consider them more. So yeah, that's an interesting thing with the scientist. It made me remember the whole quirky item list I made randomly. It was months ago now, but I just made a list of, I think one item was, it was something really stupid. It was like, I can't remember it now, but it was really shocking. something like sacrifice a member of your party, but this item does something incredible, but the party member's dead forever and you never get them back. But I can't remember what it was. But something like that, something that has like consequences to using it, can be pretty interesting and has like very undesired consequences. But yeah, and even if we don't get to have some character like this in Everbloom, he would fit in another zone. You know, someone like this would be a great character to have in. And sometimes if they don't make the cut, it's always nice to think they might appear in somewhere in another part of the world later on. But I think it's a cool one to at least consider. You never know, he could be the thing that lives in that little crack. But yeah, I like to get all the ideas considered and see what we've got. Hi Nikki, how you doing? It's good to see you. Did I save that one about the... Yeah, I did. The bizarre equipment. So yeah, bizarre equipment. What cool bizarre equipment could we have then, I wonder? If the centre of the lake is a solid rock with some metres of soil on the top, then the entire lake would be shaped a bit like a bundt cake mould. Then the lake itself could come alive and the crack is an eye. Wow. Say that as well. I need to visualise that because that sounds pretty shocking. But imagine if the lake itself came alive and... that, you know, that would be something the spell wouldn't have intended to do, I suppose. Brought something to life. But yeah, let's look at that one. Let's look at Lakefall again now after that. I need to look at what a bundt cake is so I can properly visualise that. I'll give it a Google in a bit. Or maybe the raindrops made something like the Lady of the Lake living there. Yeah. So I think from what I'm gathering from today and a lot that's been said in stream, we need to clear up a lot of the Element X business. Because there's been a lot of about the element and what it's able to do with raindrops and stuff and what's possible, what isn't. So I think that's definitely something to at least sort out sooner rather than later, because we could end up having some, if we're not careful, some clashes and plot holes, and you know, so we'll have to see what works and stuff and what's going to be things. But I've got a note of everything, and I think most of the stuff that has been mentioned has been to do with the raindrops and the currency. So yes, Lady of the Lake, like in the Arthur story. Well, cool. So I'll look into that one because I've heard of that Lady in the Lake thing, but I need to get a proper insight into what it's all about and see what that is. So I've got all the notes, guys. Nice map. Thank you. It's the first one we ever did. Very long time ago now. Ooh, look at all our little buildings. Okay, so yeah, it's been nice going back to Lakefall and Everbloom Forest today and having a little talk about them, and in particular because we have neglected the actual area and the world building of that area, and I'm glad that I've refreshed it in people's minds. So we've got this little summary. If anyone else has got any thoughts and questions on this particular paragraph that we've got here, let's get it up, and feel free to throw them at me because this was mine. And if that was the case, this particular bit here, we wouldn't find that out until we actually meet the reptiles ourselves. I doubt the humans would tell us that. They're not going to be like, oh, this was the reptiles' home, but we were just super mean and we just stole it from them. The humans are too arrogant for that. But from this kind of thing, the fact there was a massacre people died. And also the fact that there's living things coming to life in the area would mean that the citizens of the villagers of Lakefall would be sort of quite scared and very happy to be in their little circle away from the world, hiding away from everything. Even though they're kind of in the centre of the Everbloom Forest, I don't think it's that safe. But I suppose in their little head, they think they're safe. Yeah, there's a bridge there. There's a tree there. Thinking about how safe it is another thing to consider as well. I think the fact that a massacre happened in the first place means that it isn't. But how did the reptiles attack? Did they go across the bridge? Did they jump down from the cliffs? Because there's not much protection, is there, when we look at the cliffs? Let's go back to Lakefall. You know, it's let's get our map up here. We could get a better view of it there. You know, there's a bridge, and yeah, maybe they feel a bit safer that there's a bridge there. It stops anything coming in that way. But at the end of the day, people can just jump down from these cliffs and attack. Maybe that's how the reptiles did it. They jumped down from because you know, they're making themselves very sort of vulnerable in a way. There, and that's something to consider as well. Like, how do they avoid attacks from above? But yeah, we kind of get that the entrance and exit, the people have got to go across the bridge to enter and exit the village. It could almost be like a sort of ritual or thing that they have to do to respect the dead. Just considering how everything's laid out here. Maybe the reason there was a massacre is that the area was a very good place to collect the raindrops. The government decided that they had to remove the lizards in order to gain access. Their other attempts to obtain the land failed, so had to try a more aggressive option. I'm going to copy and paste that as well, Van, because we have so much today and it's all super cool. And honestly, I'd be surprised if some of it didn't clash, because there's a lot of different ideas here. And yeah, I'm going to make it priority to get a sort of summary of this element X written out, to like, so you guys get the sort of picture of how element X is, because it's such a mystery right now. We don't know, have a clue what it is. So get a sort of very brief summary up, and then I'll have a read through everything that's been said, and we'll see what's workable with that little summary that we've got. And then we can also consider how it all fits in with Lakefall, like some of you guys have said today, because having it all link is perfect. That's what we want to do. If we can get Lakefell lore, the reptiles, all of this, the graves, the cave system, somehow there with the raindrops and the spell. I mean, it doesn't have to. The spell could be a completely separate event, like a motivation of Chubcheeks' character that's separate from what's happening here. We don't have to force ourselves, but if something does work and it's like, wow, that's really cool, then I'm definitely gonna be like on there. And another idea, you said the caves were under the graves. Yes, Van. National very, very observantly noticed that. I was super impressed, because that was something I didn't even realise myself. Like, this was accidental design. You know, most of the time with level design, we do it on purpose, don't we? But this was accidental. It was completely accidental. It just so happens that the graves are literally above the cave, like just slightly off, but basically almost there, you know. And it's all sorts of questions have run through my mind now. Like, is this just a big pillar of rock, Or is there just a few inches of rock and is the rest water? You know, there's just so many questions, so many possibilities and ways this could go. And I love the amount of ideas and things to consider. And yes, it's a shame if we can't make them all work, if there's some cool ones there, but we'll just get them all out there and see what will fit. And I think once we've got a clearer idea of how everything is, the system, it'll be easier to just come up with even more ideas from that then. What if the government had discovered that the bodies that have been buried in the graveyard have been absorbing raindrops, and those bodies are filled with excess? The government have been using the cave to gather bodies from under the burial grounds. There could be a quest in that cave that reveals empty coffins in the cave below, maybe not revealing the truth, but giving questions to what's going on. Right, so I'm going to copy that as well, because my little brain needs to read that later, but I have no doubt it's going to be good stuff, because Van knows what he's on about. And also, Van, I saw your message earlier, and I thought that was a really cool idea about the history thing that you mentioned. That is definitely something we could totally incorporate into our lore Bible in the relevant articles. Like for the star one especially, because we know that there's different conflicting views on what the stars are. Well, there's a lot of fairy tales and myths surrounding the stars anyway. You know I always have ideas for this stuff. Yeah, so for sure, guys, but we will probably have to close things now. I want to give somebody a raid if we can. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I'm going to copy and paste our lore Bible again, just to make sure everyone knows the link and has it. We'll get a proper command set up for that. And I'll be back on Friday, guys, and maybe added a little bit more to the lore Bible by then, and we'll have a little bit more of a discussion on some of this, but might also do a bit of game dev as well in between. We'll see where it takes us, because there's plenty of battle system stuff to do as well. But if I ever get to a bit where I'm like, oh no, I'll do this off stream now, then it's nice to just like talk about lore for a bit. Yeah, you're down, okay. So, raid command. My goodness, my tummy's done a big, massive rumble. Okay. Okay, Gretch Star's online. She's just coming on, I think. So, I think the game that she's playing is something I've always, if it's the one I'm thinking, it's one that I've always been curious about anyway. Secret World, it's an MMO, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's the one I'm thinking. But anyway, let's see what she's up to. See what that's all about. Gretch has good taste in games. Thank you for the stream, Rose. You're welcome, and thanks so much for hanging out, guys. And those of you, National Van, Aggro, that have thrown in some ideas, forgotten, etc. Thanks so much for the feedback, and thanks for lurking, those of you that have hung around today. It's always good to have you with us, for all the hype in chat and all the subs. So okay, oh dear me, yeah, please do, sure. And don't forget to hit that follow button, pizza. Thank you, Moon. Yeah, and I'll see you all on Friday, guys. So let's get that right down. Thanks for hanging out. It's super exciting. I think we've got a good organised thing going here with this lore Bible thing. I think it could turn out to be something really, really awesome and informative and really fun to read, hopefully. That's the aim. So take care, everybody. You're all awesome.